Saitama, a carefree bald guy who only wants to be a hero for fun. Although, I wouldn't call punching an enemy with one punch is exactly fun. As you see, this bald loser Saitama is so powerful that it only takes one punch in every battle he's in, and even if he tries to hold back, the outcome is unfortunately the same. But somehow Saitama is still at the bottom of the ranking, while the majority of S ranking members are just disgustingly useless throughout the entire moments. Not that he cares though, since he's only a hero for the fun. As a sudden explosion caught the eyes of the entire city that was caused by a blue monster with two antennas on his forehead that looked quite similar to our X's. The blue monster jumped into the sky, causing more destruction. The Hero Association was on high alert, sending signals to available heroes to move towards the blue monster. Although many useless heroes had already been defeated by this disgusting monster. You sure this isn't one of our X's? I'm just saying. A bald man wearing a cape and an ugly yellow costume was headed towards the blue monster. Just as he was about to eliminate her, the disgusting bald guy who claims to be a hero for fun came to save the day. The monster explains that he was formed from the constant stream of pollution with which humans have suffused the earth, Vaccine Man. Vaccine Man called humans nothing but a disease-causing bacteria eating away at the Earth's life force. Vaccine Man had bulked up to his maximum capacity and was about to attack Saitama. The bald man, not caring about that BS background, punches him to bits with one punch. The whole area was cleaned with Saitama falling in disappointment to his knees because all it took was one lousy punch, and he was here for fun. 3 years earlier, believe it or not, this useless man was full of hair. While he was on his way when he ran into a half-human, half-crab monster. Saitama didn't run away after seeing the monster in front of him. Now is it because he was scared? Yeah, no. It's only because he was an unemployed loser like ourselves, rejected from many interviews on Indeed, and was in no mood to run. The monster let him go since Saitama's eyes were as lifeless as yours, and besides, the monster was hunting for a different prey, a big-chinned brat. Saitama went on his way when suddenly he ran into the same big-chinned brat. Saitama asked if his dumbass had messed with some crab monster, and the brat drew nipples on the monster with his marker. The hero was about to go away when the crab monster appeared and was about to smash the brat with his huge claws, but Saitama jumped in to save the brat from getting smashed. Saitama asked the monster if he was really going to eliminate that brat over some tiny prank. The crab couldn't care less about a brat since the monster had already eliminated dozens. The crab had the nerve to warn Saitama to step aside or else he would face the same fate. The monster tossed Saitama away like a piece of trash with a punch, but Saitama got up again with enthusiasm to become a hero and got laid right back down. Saitama jumped right up over the crab and grabbed one of its eyes using his tie, showing him no mercy, and his internal organs were pulled out, eliminating him in an instant. Fast forward to the present, Saitama remembered the incident when he was purchasing crabs from the supermarket. After that day when he defeated the monster, he trained so hard that he went bald. Saitama is now living the life he dreamt of, however he isn't exactly satisfied. Considering every fight he does it only takes one punch. Suddenly, the market started shaking when he was checking out. Suddenly, a portion of the supermarket vanished. As Saitama went out to see what had just happened, he saw a colossal titan walking around the city with his elder human brother on the titan's shoulder. The titan, as a human, wanted to become the strongest man in the world, working consecutively hard. On the other hand, his elder brother had invented a steroid named Biceps King, which he gave to his little brother. The little brother was transformed into the Jaeger family, leveling the buildings around the city. The city was being evacuated as Eren Yeager started destruction. Suddenly, Saitama appeared on the left shoulder, shocking the elder brother. The elder brother ordered the titan to smash Saitama on his shoulder, not specifying which shoulder. The slow titan smashed his elder brother just like a mosquito, and instantly regretted his action. Blaming Saitama for his own mistakes, he begins attacking him. The titan started punching Saitama consequently, creating a giant hole in the ground. Saitama suddenly rose from the ground and one-punched the titan to his death. On his way back home, Saitama was thinking that there's no sign that the evils of the world are disappearing. This has not changed since the bald became a hero. In other words, Saitama thinks that he has not made any impact. And he isn't sad about that either. But there is something bothering him lately. As the days pass, his emotions grow more distant. He feels none of the emotions, whether happiness or sadness. In exchange for power, maybe he has lost something that is essential for a human being. As Saitama was petting a kitty, suddenly another appeared in front of Saitama, introducing himself as Super Custom Yo 649 ZMK2, who is bragging about himself while Saitama is still wandering in the abyss of his own thoughts. Saitama shattered the monster without a second thought and continued what he was thinking. As he reached his home uninjured as usual, he started washing his gloves. When he is out fighting monsters, he never felt as if his heart is really in it. He just does hero things as a hobby. In other words, as long as he gets a kick out of it, that's all he cares about. The next day, Saitama woke up again with a blast. Suddenly, some strong monsters started attacking him in his sleep, finally making him bleed after 3 years. The monsters have decided to take over their surface worlds because they are suffering from overpopulation. They have already killed 70% of humans. The monsters have encountered no humans who can survive their punches just like Saitama. It has been too long since Saitama has come across such worthy opponents. Saitama shattered one of the monsters with his single punch and then continued kicking some others. He continued getting hit and hitting at the same time. Just when the monsters had thought that Saitama had been finished, Saitama came out of flames and continued massacring the monsters. This is the first time in years Saitama has felt this excited. Just when Saitama had finished the monsters, the boss appeared from the ground, making Saitama more excited. Just as Saitama was about to go all out one-on-one with the boss, the alarm clock woke him up from the dream. So basically, his real life got so boring, he had to make up his own imagination. As he woke up, he heard the same voice from his dream. He got ready and jumped out of his apartment to fight. As the monster saw him, they raised a white flag and retreated back underground. It was at this point he started to realize maybe sleeping all day wouldn't be that bad, as Saitama was watching the news minding his own business. The news broadcasters were discussing a new type of mosquito outbreak, different from normal pesky mosquitoes. The news broadcast started a breaking news segment about a swarm of mosquitoes spotted in City Z, warning them that a farm was attacked by a swarm and was left with only the mummies of cattle. As Saitama was watering his plants, suddenly a single mosquito started getting on his nerves. Saitama, unable to slap the mosquito, literally started having beef with a whole bug. The city was alarmed about the demon-level threat and advised citizens to evacuate immediately. A robber who was robbing abandoned shops, thinking that a mosquito bite would do nothing, suddenly encountered the swarm of mosquitoes and was reduced to bones. Suddenly, the cyborg hero named Genos arrived on the spot to solve the problem. The queen was controlling the mosquitoes using some sort of signals, ordering them to hunt prey for her. Genos needed to get rid of the queen to disperse the swarm. The queen, thinking Genos was her next meal, ordered the swarm to attack him. Little did they know, Genos burned the swarm with a single fire blast attack. He began attacking the queen, who dodged his attacks while tossing him away like our exes did us. Genos used the same attack on the queen, but she said get that BS outta here. However, Genos managed to rip the legs off the queen at the cost of his left arm, causing the queen to retreat for a while to collect a bigger swarm. As Genos was about to launch another attack, he got distracted by Saitama, who was running after a single mosquito with insect-killing spray. Genos calls Saitama an idiot and ordered him to evacuate before he also turned into bones. The queen transformed to her full power and launched the swarm. Genos burned the swarm without a second thought, thinking the queen was an idiot for making it so easy to wipe out the swarm with a single blast. Suddenly, Genos realized Saitama was unharmed and standing still in front of him, praising Genos for saving him. Genos was confused to see Saitama unharmed. Suddenly, the queen appeared and started attacking the surroundings. The queen then moved fast, attacking Genos and ripping him in 2 parts. Genos, thinking this was it for him, decided to pull a Megumi Fushiguro special and about to ruin everyone's day. However, Saitama jumped in to slap the queen, eliminating her with ease and spraying her guts all over the buildings. Genos, being shocked that this disgusting-looking bald guy just wiped out a demon-level threat with little to no effort, asks Saitama if he can be his student. Genos is fully recovered and waits for Saitama to open the door, calling Saitama his sensei. Saitama lets in Genos, offers him a drink, and then asks him to leave, saying he's not looking for students. Genos tells Saitama his boring backstory nobody is trying to listen to, but basically he explains how he used to be a normal human 4 years ago when a malfunctioning cyborg destroyed his city and eliminated his entire family. Miraculously, Genos survived, and Dr. Cusino happened to pass by his town to end the oppression of cyborgs. Genos asked the doctor to modify his body to make him better, stronger, and more powerful. That's when Genos was made as a cyborg who fights for justice. Saitama saved Genos' life, which was saved by the doctor years before. So basically he feels indebted to Saitama and wants to study under him to increase his power. As I said, nobody wanted to listen to his story, including Saitama, as he is currently having a meltdown, trying to remember what bull he just said. He continues to beg Saitama to teach him how to be stronger just like him. Saitama suddenly gets serious and tells Genos that he is currently 25 and didn't begin training until he was 22. Suddenly, a monster appeared from the ceiling, which Saitama destroyed with of course a single punch. 2 other monsters were outside, which Genos wanted to finish, but as Genos jumped down, the monsters were already half buried by Saitama, who warned them to never burst through his ceiling ever again. Suddenly, a mole monster, which I'm pretty sure is my uncle, grabbed Saitama's feet and buried Saitama up to his neck. A cyborg appeared behind Genos, asking him to get out of the way. Another lion monster, calling himself Beast King, appeared in front of Saitama, whose head was popping out of the ground. Genos is dealing with the cyborg who is from the House of Evolution. However, Saitama is bored to see these disgusting monsters, considering they won't even be worth his time, which clearly annoys Beast King. He threatens Saitama, thinking that this bald hero was all talk and no bite. Beast King attacks Saitama with his claw and enraged to use his full power. Saitama jumps around to dodge the attacks and counters with consecutive normal punches. Saitama has shattered Beast King's guts around the area and sets his sight on my uncle, who dragged him to the ground. Saitama chased the mole monster and also eliminated him with little to no effort. As Saitama looked around, he saw Genos interrogating the cyborg gorilla, who is the third most powerful fighter in the House of Evolution. The second is Beast King, which Saitama has already obliterated. Seeing the remains of Beast King, the cyborg gorilla started answering the questions. Long ago, the four labs lived together in harmony until the Fire Nation attacked. There existed a brilliant young airbender. Well, he's a scientist, but just go with it. Only the scientist, master of all four human knowledge. However, when everyone needed him the most, he vanished to get the milk. He became disillusioned with the world. Though constantly showered with praise for the subtlety of his mind, none of his ideas or theories ever received even the slightest support from the scientific community. He wanted to advance the human species through evolution, but not a single person came forward to help him fulfill that dream. Thereafter, Genos devoted himself to research. It was only after Genos turned 70 that his efforts began to yield results. First, the scientist regained his youth. Next, he began cloning himself. Genos named his laboratory the House of Evolution, and together with his clones, he conducted countless experiments to create new species. Eventually, his experiments shifted to human subjects. The cyborg gorilla told Saitama everything he knew. But Saitama has nothing to do with all this BS. He wants a short answer explaining why he was attacked. The gorilla apologizes for knowing nothing more than that, but tells Saitama that Genos, his boss, is curious about Saitama's body. Saitama denies the gorilla, saying he is not interested in men, mistaking Genos is into dudes. He clarifies that he wants to examine Saitama's body since Saitama surpasses normal human limitations for his research on evolution. Genos suggests that they should attack Genos at this moment, but Saitama passes because there's a sale at the supermarket the next day and can't afford to miss it due to this BS. Genos can't believe that his elite force was defeated so easily. The armored gorilla has sent the reports back to the House of Evolution, informing Genos about Saitama and Genos. They need to stop Saitama and Genos from reaching the House of Evolution to avoid their research getting destroyed. They have no choice but to release Carnage Kabuto. Other clones are shocked by Genos' decision. Genos calms them down because Carnage Kabuto is their last resort. First, they will activate all traps from the 1st to the 8th floor. Genos and Saitama, arriving outside the House of Evolution, gets a warm welcome with a blast to wipe out the entire building. But not really caring about none of this, goes toward the basement door. Genos meets Carnage Kabuto, who is tied in chains and has already eliminated a bunch of his useless clones. Genos tells Kabuto that the only reason he is tied in chains is that he is mentally unstable like ourselves, and Genos can't control him. Kabuto shatters the chains and laughs at Genos for trying to control him, mocking him. But Kabuto himself is also a failure since he lacks humanity. Genos is here to ask for a favor and shows him a picture of Kabuto, asking him to defeat Saitama and capture him for Genos. Kabuto, with Genos in his hand, charges towards Saitama. Kabuto plastered Genos on the wall for decoration and asks Saitama if he would like to fight him in the combat experimentation room. Saitama, not really caring, just want to get back to shopping sale, agrees. Suddenly, Genos arrives to attack Kabuto, but none of Genos' attacks are able to damage Kabuto. Kabuto gets Genos with his one punch and deflects Genos' next attack back to him, frying Genos' hairs. Genos is also heading towards the combat room while thinking about his life. Kabuto asks Saitama to attack him, but Saitama is standing still. Saitama steps forward, telling Kabuto not to disappoint him. Kabuto moves fast and appears behind Saitama, realizing Saitama's truth, and retreats without a second thought. Even Genos is shocked because Kabuto is sweating all over his body. Kabuto's instincts are sending out danger signals just by looking at Saitama. Kabuto's yelling at Saitama demands the secret to his unbelievable strength. With a mischievous grin, Saitama builds suspense, only to reveal his simple yet effective regimen: 10 kilometers runs, 100 push-ups, sit-ups, and squats every single day for 3 years straight. Kabuto and Genos can't believe their ears and accuse Saitama of pulling their legs. But before they can wrap their heads around it, Kabuto undergoes a startling transformation into Carnage mode, unleashing chaos with a wild rampage that lasts an entire week. As Carnage mode takes over, Kabuto becomes a force to be reckoned with, leaving destruction in his wake, and Voka to wreak havoc once Saitama is gone. Kabuto starts attacking Saitama at his full power. Saitama, while taking the blows, thinking maybe he just get a real battle, suddenly realizes that he will miss the sale if he doesn't deal with Kabuto. Saitama gets crazy and punches through Kabuto, raining guts everywhere. Genos is left dumbfounded, witnessing Kabuto being effortlessly defeated in a single blow. Genos swiftly suggests to Saitama that they dash to the supermarket, assuring they can make it if they depart promptly. With barely a moment's hesitation, Genos and Saitama vanish from sight. Meanwhile, as Genos gazes upon the colossal void torn open in the sky by Genos, he contemplates his own understanding of Saitama's BS plot armor. In the bustling city of F, amidst the towering office buildings and opulent penthouses, an unusual figure named Hammerhead stood amidst a crowd of disgruntled workers. Clad in experimental experimental battle suits pilfered from some clandestine source, Hammerhead and his crew were on a mission to incite rebellion, envisioning a society where work was optional and support was provided for all. Their first act of defiance took the form of a protest outside a corporate office, but the indifferent gazes of the passersby only fueled their determination. To prove their seriousness, they set their sights on demolishing the penthouse of the city's wealthiest man. Equipped with their stolen suits, which granted them formidable power, Hammerhead and his crew converged on what they believed to be their target. With a single mighty blow, they reduced a building to rubble, only to realize their dumbass had struck the wrong target. Their intended victim's residence lay further away. Meanwhile, a new hero, known simply as Saitama, emerged from a fitful slumber to the unsettling news of Hammerhead's terrorist activities. As he watched the chaos unfold on his television screen, Saitama, a man with a famously bald head, felt a twinge of concern about his own reputation. Determined to uphold his status as a hero and avoid being mistaken for a villain, Saitama sprung into action. On his trusty bicycle, he raced towards the scene, prepared to confront Hammerhead and his band of bald-headed criminals. As Saitama arrived on the scene, he witnessed the valiant but ill-fated efforts of a novice hero named Mumen Rider, who attempted to thwart the terrorists with nothing but his bicycle. Unfortunately, Mumen Rider's bravery was no match for the overwhelming power of Hammerhead and his crew. Meanwhile, within the confines of the besieged penthouse, Zenaru, the wealthiest man in town, received urgent counsel from his assistant to flee the building. However, their escape was thwarted by a contract killer still bound by Zenaru's employer, a dangerous individual known only as Sonic. In a bid to turn the tide against the Paradisers, Sonic received a special suit designed to enhance his already formidable abilities. With swift precision, he decimated the ranks of the terrorists, leaving only Hammerhead to face him in a final showdown. Despite Hammerhead's ferocious onslaught of giant boulders, Sonic proved to be a master of speed and agility, effortlessly evading each attack. With a single stroke of his special white sauce blade, Sonic brought Hammerhead to his knees, effectively ending the threat posed by the terrorist leader. However, Hammerhead's formidable resilience allowed him to escape the clutches of justice, leaving Sonic to face an unexpected encounter with a useless, weak-looking bald guy. As Hammerhead fled into the night, Saitama confronted him with characteristic nonchalance, effortlessly shrugging off the villain's best efforts to defeat him. With a single punch, Saitama shattered Hammerhead's battle suit, leaving the would-be revolutionary humiliated. As Hammerhead slunk away in defeat, Sonic mistook Saitama for another terrorist, poised to strike with his blade until our hero, literally not giving a care in the world, hits him in the worst spot possible. And let's just say, this poor guy won't be having any mini-hymns for a while. Impressed by Saitama's composure and power, Sonic departed with a vow of vengeance, leaving Saitama to ponder his newfound status as a hero. Returning home, Saitama found solace in the company of his faithful companion, Genos, who shared in his disappointment at not receiving recognition for their heroic deeds. Determined to rectify this injustice, Saitama resolved to register as an official hero, with Genos at his side. As they embarked on the bureaucratic process of hero registration, Saitama couldn't help but crack a joke about the absurdity of filling out forms to save the world. With Genos by his side, Saitama looked forward to a future where their heroism would finally be acknowledged, one form at a time. At Hero Association HQ, Mumen Rider's promotion denial was settled, solidifying his position as a top C-class hero. Now, attention turned to the 55th Hero Certification exams, boasting 11,684 candidates across 6 venues, a 22% increase from the previous year. However, the numbers seemed irrelevant amid concerns about declining hero quality, prompting a call for more rigorous evaluation. Among the contenders was Genos, slated to participate in this year's exams. Meanwhile, at Venue 6, a peculiar figure caught the attention of fellow candidates. Clad in nothing but his blue underwear, Saitama seemed the epitome of average, until he effortlessly dominated every class, reducing punching machines to scrap and leaving his mocking peers in awe. In the changing room, Saitama crossed paths with Genos, the S-class hero hopeful who excelled in the written exam. Despite Saitama's stellar physical performance, he was dismayed to find himself relegated to C-class status. During his interview, Genos was questioned about the mysterious destruction of the House of Evolution, a query that swiftly earned him S-class certification, much to his confusion and the interviewer's haste. Disheartened by his C-class ranking, Saitama shunned any further acclaim, much to Genos' dismay, who was eager to remedy the situation. Their focus shifted to a seminar in the lecture hall, where they discovered themselves as the only participants listening to a lecture delivered by an A-class hero, who seemed unsettled by Saitama's laid-back attitude. Reflecting on the Hero Association's origins, spurred by a millionaire's grandchild's rescue, they returned home with newfound resolve, even if Saitama remained skeptical of his hero status. Elsewhere, discussions revolved around Genos' meteoric rise to S-class and Saitama's unmatched physical prowess, hinting at a divine presence within him. The conversation turned to Saitama's potential to surpass even A-class heroes, unsettling some. Saitama's doubts persisted until a chance encounter with Snek, who sought to reclaim his status by challenging him to a duel. A challenge promptly met with a single punch, much to Snek's dismay. dismay. The next day, Genos proposed a quest for heroic recognition through acts of valor, leading to a sparring session where Saitama's nonchalant dodging frustrated his eager companion, until a serious punch cleaved a path through mountains. After their display of strength, the duo indulged in a food competition with Genos emerging victorious to the shock of the chef, only to be interrupted by Ami Mask, who extended cryptic invitation to Genos. Returning home, Genos decided to move in with Saitama, marking a new chapter in their partnership. As they strolled together, Genos' departure from their previous meeting weighed heavily on Saitama's mind, hinting at challenges to come after their display of strength. Genos has decided to stay with Saitama in order to learn his secret way of life. Saitama only fights powerful monsters, so he probably does not know it, but C-class heroes take care of purse snatchers, robberies, and random attacks. To survive as a C-class hero, they must actively look for cases to resolve. Saitama will not find anything without legwork. Suddenly, Saitama started getting dressed. Before leaving, Saitama told Genos to train mentally since physical training is a waste of time for a cyborg like him. Saitama wasn't having any idea, so he made all this crap. Saitama told Genos to break into the top 10 of the Class S heroes. Genos took the bait and made up his mind to do as Saitama just told him. Saitama ran around the city while looking for crime, but he was unable to find any crime until evening. Saitama went home to test his luck the next day. As Saitama was looking for crime, suddenly Sonic appeared and attacked him with kunai. Saitama, ignoring Sonic, continued his search for crime. Sonic started attacking Saitama with his blade, which Saitama shattered with his teeth. Suddenly, another hero named Top Tank Tiger jumped in between them because the girls around had complained that Saitama was running around the city with a scary look on his face since yesterday. Other people recognize the hero, who wants to cause trouble for Saitama to make his disgusting self look good. However, the useless hero gets knocked the mess out of by Sonic. Sonic then challenges Saitama and started attacking him with exploding shurikens that hits the buildings and causes trouble. Sonic, thinking he has the upper hand, goes for a sword attack, but Saitama, not feeling up to the mood, warns him if he continues, he is getting crisp breezied. The Heroes Association HQ is talking about Saitama taking down Sonic, who was involved in many heinous crimes. The association is also talking about another hero who has cleared a hot city. The other cities have normal reports. The association has sent two A-class heroes, Spring Mustachio and Golden Ball, to City Z for some investigation. As the useless heroes were walking around, watching the destruction caused by monsters around the ghost town, an abandoned area, they are here to find the reason for monsters' increasing attacks. Suddenly, Genos heard the proximity alarm. Golden Ball and Mustachio saw a monster and went to pursue it. The heroes started attacking the monster. Golden Ball gets smashed around by the monster while Mustachio starts exchanging blows with the tentacle swamp monster. Mustachio calls for reinforcement as he thinks the monster in front of him is too strong. The swamp monster told Mustachio that he is from out of town and came to attend the meeting of monsters. Mustachio, who is completely injured and unable to hold on any longer against the swamp monster. As the swamp monster turned around after knocking out this useless side piece, the monster saw a bald guy heading towards him. The monster was about to attack Saitama, but Saitama knocked out the monster and had the nerve to use his tentacles for some konbu soup. That's some different level of disrespect right there. The reinforcements arrived and saw the signs that point to the existence of some horrible monstrosity. The HQ thought that some other monster finished the swamp monster, and the news has been broadcasted about another tough monster living in the ghost town. In the bustling halls of the Heroes Association HQ, tension crackled in the air like static before a storm. An emergency meeting had been called, and Genos, the fiery young disciple of Saitama, strode in, his metallic limbs gleaming in the fluorescent light. As he entered, he was greeted by Bang, the esteemed Silver Fang, whose reputation preceded him like a legend. Saying, "Genos, good for you to come here," Bang greeted with a nod. "We're facing a dire situation. A catastrophic asteroid hurtling towards City Z. It's a dragon-level threat, and time is not on our side." As the gravity of the situation sank in, Genos listened intently, his circuits whirring with urgency. Bang revealed the impending disaster. In 30 minutes, the colossal meteorite would descend upon the city, spelling doom for its inhabitants. He confided in Genos, admitting his own uncertainty on how to confront such a formidable menace. He implored Genos to evacuate his loved ones while there was still time, unwilling to abandon his family's ancestral dojo to the whims of fate. With a solemn nod, Genos departed, determination burning in his artificial heart. He made his way to the tallest building in the city, ready to unleash his full power against the impending apocalypse. But fate had other plans. Just as Genos prepared to unleash his might, another hero emerged. Bafoi, S-Class ranked 7, known for his ingenious inventions. With a flick of a switch, Bafoi's remotely controlled drone unleashed a barrage of missiles upon the meteor, creating a resounding impact that echoed through the city. Genos watched in awe as the destructive force unfolded before his eyes, but the meteor remained unscathed, mocking their efforts. Undeterred, Genos gathered his resolve, charging up for his own devastating attack. However, Bang's timely arrival brought a sobering reality: their efforts might be in vain. Yet, Genos refused to yield. With a surge of determination, he unleashed his most powerful attack, channeling the core of his being into a blazing torrent of energy. But even his formidable might proved insufficient to shatter the meteor. Defeated, Genos sank to his knees, the weight of failure pressing upon him. It was then that salvation appeared in the form of a caped figure, Saitama, the enigmatic hero known for his unparalleled strength. With characteristic nonchalance, Saitama approached the meteor and, with a single decisive blow, shattered it into oblivion. Yet, victory came at a cost. The destruction wrought by the meteor's fragments left City Z in ruins, its once vibrant streets now marred by devastation. In the aftermath, the Heroes Association took stock of the situation, recalibrating their rankings to reflect the events that had unfolded. I think we can all agree S-rank heroes just gotta be the most useless rank to exist. Genos, despite his valiant efforts, found himself ascending only one rank, a bittersweet reminder of the challenges that lay ahead. Meanwhile, Saitama's feats propelled him to the upper echelons of heroism, though everyone hated him due to the destruction he caused. Even though he saved him. Honestly, just become a villain at this point. As Saitama wandered through the wreckage of the city he had saved, he couldn't help but notice the irony. The supermarket where he once hunted for bargains lay in ruins, while the dingy apartment he had been unceremoniously evicted from remained unscathed. And then, as if by cosmic irony, trouble found him once more in the form of Tank Top Tiger and his zealous brother, Tank Top Black Hole. Accusing Saitama of cheating his way to the top ranks, they sought retribution with fists clenched and egos bruised. But in the face of adversity, Saitama remained not caring. As the crowd gathered, casting blame upon him for the city's destruction, he stood his ground, not caring about the world around him. It was then that Genos arrived, a beacon of unwavering loyalty in the storm of doubt. With steadfast determination, he stood by Saitama's side, offering his support in the darkest of hours. And as the world turned against him, Saitama found solace in the steadfast friendship of his disciple, knowing that no matter the odds, they would face the challenges ahead together. The next day, a sea monster with tentacles has emerged from the sea. Newman Rider is on his way to defeat the monster, but Saitama is already there and has defeated it with his trademark nonchalance. The internet is buzzing about this mysterious C-class hero who effortlessly dispatches any monster that crosses his path, no matter how formidable. Meanwhile, other sea monsters have surfaced to attack humans, prompting the arrival of the 11th ranked class hero, Stinger, to defend the city. While Genos is busy cleaning dishes, he excitedly informs Saitama that his rank has jumped from C rank 5 to C rank 2. Suddenly, Genos receives a distress call about a group of sea monsters, calling themselves the Clan of Sea Folks, attacking the surface. In City J, Newman Rider is bravely heading towards the onslaught. Meanwhile, Stinger finds himself overwhelmed by the monsters until he manages to pull off a spectacular 4-monster takedown, only to face the boss monster who effortlessly takes him out with a single blow. As the threat level escalates from tiger to demon, chaos ensues in the city. The king, making his way through the deserted streets, takes down hero after hero with ease. Lightning Max is saved from a devastating blow by the timely intervention of the S-class hero, Prisoner, who is serving a life sentence for his inability to resist attacking beautiful men. He's just like me. Deep Sea King appears, challenging Prisoner to a brutal showdown. Despite Prisoner's valiant efforts, he is overpowered and thrown through buildings. Sonic steps up to face the monster, boasting about his speed, only to find himself outmatched when Deep Sea King bulks up and becomes even faster. All these heroes are motherfricking useless. I'm sorry, someone had to say it. No reason the villain's doing a better job than them. Newman Rider encounters Saitama and instantly recognizes him. As Sonic races for safety, he warns Genos about the strength of the Deep Sea King. The monster, intent on slaughter, crashes into the evacuation shelter, where 4 heroes, including 2 CS, 1B, and 1A, attempt to stop him, but their useless asses are defeated. I'm not even surprised no more. Genos arrives, giving me a little hope to challenge the king, while Saitama, casually picking up Newman Rider's dropped phone, intercepts a call from the Hero Association, who advises Newman Rider to retreat for his own safety, realizing the monster is far beyond his league. Genos starts attacking Deep Sea King with his powerful blasts, but of course it's not enough to take down the monster. He somehow lets his guard down and loses his right arm before the battle even started. As HQ orders Saitama to move towards the evacuation shelter, Genos, determined to protect the public, urges them to escape. However, Deep Sea King is adamant about preventing anyone from leaving. In a heroic act, Genos sacrifices himself to shield a little girl from the monster's acid attack, reducing himself to a skeletal form as he continues to withstand the monster's onslaught. Just when it seems like Genos is about to meet his end, Newman Rider leaps into action, challenging the monster head-on. Despite being the top hero of the C-class, Newman Rider is swiftly overwhelmed by the monster's power. He still did more than the other useless S-rank heroes. As the monster prepares to finish off Newman Rider, the crowd's cheers for the hero ignite its anger. Saitama suddenly appears, catching Newman Rider before the monster's blow can land. Unfazed by the monster's threats, Saitama delivers a single punch, effortlessly dispatching the once formidable Deep Sea King. Sonic returns with his weapons, unaware that Deep Sea King has already met his end at Saitama's hand. The next day, Saitama and Genos receive an abundance of fan mail, but amidst the praise, Saitama also receives criticism for supposedly cheating during the battle. As the public celebrates their newfound safety, Saitama's past reputation as a cheat resurfaces, leading to doubts about his true abilities. Despite ranking up to the top spot in the C class, Saitama faces scrutiny from both the public and the Hero Association. However, he agrees to move up to the B rank and receives a promotion. Meanwhile, Stinger and Max stumble upon a newspaper article revealing Puri prisoner's status as an S-class failure, prompting them to flee from him in panic. Saitama encounters Mumen Rider in a local food stall and receives congratulations on his promotion. Reflecting on their encounter, Saitama realizes the impact of Mumen Rider's gratitude for his heroism. In the end, despite the doubts and criticisms, Saitama remains careless in his resolve to be a true hero, proving that his strength goes beyond mere rank or reputation. And hey, who knew taking out monsters could lead to so much paperwork and drama, right? As the dust settles from the demise of Deep Sea King, a new threat emerges in the form of a Godzilla-like monster intent on reclaiming its dominion over Earth. Despite relentless missile strikes, the creature remains unscathed. Enter Tatsumaki, an S-rank hero, propelled towards the colossal beast. Tatsumaki faces off against the creature, revealing itself as the Ancient King, only to narrowly evade its crushing foot and counter with levitation powers. Just as Godzilla prepares to unleash its devastating breath, a massive meteor controlled by Tatsumaki's telekinetic tornado descends from the sky, reducing the monster to ash. Meanwhile, Bang attempts to impart his martial wisdom to Saitama and Genos at his dojo, but the duo dismiss him as a senile old man. Genos marvels at Bang's former students, only to discover that Bang's top disciple, Garo, has gone rogue, incapacitating his fellow disciples. An officer interrupts their training, summoning Bang to an emergency meeting at the association. At the association, tensions arise as Atomic Samurai snubs Saitama, refusing to shake hands with a B-class hero. Tatsumaki, known for her sass, belittles Saitama, prompting him to dub her a little sassy lost child. Ignoring Tatsumaki's jibes, Saitama joins the S-class heroes in a crucial meeting, where authorities reveal a dire prophecy from the late Madame Shibabawa predicting Earth's impending destruction. Despite skepticism from some heroes, the arrival of winged demons and an alien megaship confirms the gravity of the situation. Amidst chaos, Saitama leaps into action, dodging the ship's onslaught of bullets while single-handedly decimating the alien monsters aboard. As the situation escalates to god-level threat, heroes like Atomic Samurai, Silver Fang, Puri Prisoner, and Metal Bat join the fray against the regenerating alien horde. In the midst of the battle, Tatsumaki urges King, renowned for his unmatched strength, to engage the ship, only to be met with his refusal due to the ship's altitude. Unbeknownst to them, Saitama has already infiltrated the ship, seeking out its leader. As the heroes clash with the relentless alien onslaught, Saitama's search for the boss intensifies, leading to an inevitable showdown that will determine the fate of humanity. And amidst all this chaos, you'd think Saitama would at least have time for a quick snack break, right? The commander was shocked to see Garibas, their best warrior, being defeated so easily. Now, only Melzargard and the octopus commander, Juryuvinshup, are the elite fighters left. Lord Burroughs has arrived in the command room, where the octopus monster was eyeing the situation. Since Saitama has boarded the ship, in just 4 minutes, 23% of the ship has been destroyed. Burroughs is shocked to hear that one of his elite soldiers has already fallen as the news about a mysterious aircraft is being broadcasted on the news. The prisoner is exhausted after fighting Melzargard, who heals quickly no matter how hard it is hit. Bang jumps in and starts attacking the monster. Suddenly, Melzargard separates a fragment from his body and sends it towards the ship, but the fragment is destroyed by Metal Bat. The octopus commander informs Melzargard about an intruder on the ship, which shocks him. The monstrous octopus is desperate to retrieve Melzargard and thwart the intruder's progress, but the formidable S-class heroes stand firm, refusing to let him slip away unchallenged. In a stroke of tactical brilliance, Metal Bat discovers the key to vanquishing Melzargard, a core marble hidden within the creature's resilient form. Despite Melzargard's regenerative abilities, Metal Bat repeatedly shatters the marble fragment, weakening the formidable foe. With steely determination, Metal Bat shares this vital information with his fellow heroes, urging them to join in the assault on the marble. As tension mounts, the octopus turns its menacing gaze towards Saitama, only to fall victim to Saitama's cunning ruse, tricking the creature into divulging its weakness. Saitama strides confidently into the command center, only to be met by the wrath of an octopus-like monstrosity. With sinister telekinetic abilities, the creature launches a barrage of attacks at Saitama. Meanwhile, outside, the city's artillery stands poised, awaiting the crucial order to intervene. Undeterred, Saitama effortlessly shrugs off the onslaught, much to the shock of his aquatic assailant. In a swift and decisive move, he retaliates with nothing more than a humble pebble, swiftly dispatching the octopus monster. Turning his attention to the remaining minions, Saitama calmly inquires about their leader, undaunted by the chaos surrounding him. The artillery launches huge bullets at Silver Fang and other S-class heroes, but the bullets are reversed by Tornado, and the ship is nearly half destroyed. Mumen Rider, Max, and Stinger are helping survivors to get to safety. Silver Fang, Metal Bat, Atomic Samurai, and the prisoner are struggling to destroy the last marble of Melzargard. Meanwhile, Saitama has made his way to Burroughs. Burroughs can sense unlimited power in Saitama, as Burroughs introduces himself as the captain of a pirate band named Dark Matter, and the dominator of the universe. Saitama couldn't care less. Saitama also introduces himself as a professional hero. Burroughs tells him about a prophecy made by an alien seer that Burroughs will find his equal opponent on a faraway planet named Earth who can rekindle his passion for battle. It has been 20 years since Burroughs has been traveling, and he has finally reached Earth to face a formidable opponent. Saitama smashes Burroughs into the wall of the room with one punch. The armor that used to seal his immeasurable, irresistible power has been shattered by Saitama. Burroughs starts charging up to his full power and charges towards Saitama. This may be the first person to withstand a punch from him so far. Burroughs unleashes his full power upon Saitama, launching relentless assaults that send him reeling. Yet, Saitama stands firm, effortlessly deflecting each blow with unwavering resolve. In a bold move, Saitama shatters Burroughs' arm, only to witness it regenerate in a blink. Despite this, Saitama remains undeterred, recognizing Burroughs' formidable resilience. Meanwhile, Tank Top Master hurls massive boulders at the ship in a bid to thwart its advance, only to be outshone by Tatsumaki's awe-inspiring display of telekinetic might. With a mere gesture, she sends rubble crashing down upon the vessel, forcing Tank Top Master to concede defeat. Genos watches in awe as Tatsumaki single-handedly threatens to bring the ship crashing down. As the chaos unfolds, Drive Knight assesses the situation and deems it under control, opting to depart. Before leaving, he cryptically warns Genos of Metal Knight's true motives, urging him to keep his distance. Bewildered by this revelation, Genos is left questioning his alliances. Elsewhere, Atomic Samurai and Silver Fang emerge victorious against Melzargard, only to face the daunting challenge of the hovering ship looming above. Meanwhile, Newman Rider, Max, and Stinger valiantly ensure the safety of every survivor, clearing the area with unwavering determination. Burroughs and Saitama engage in a relentless exchange of blows, their movements a blur of power and agility. Despite Burroughs' relentless assault, Saitama emerges unscathed, his resilience unparalleled. Among the countless adversaries Burroughs has faced, Saitama stands alone as the sole survivor to withstand his onslaught. Burroughs attacks Saitama with a blast cannon, but Saitama is still unscathed. Burroughs starts telling Saitama that he has godlike traits of self-healing physical powers and latent energy beyond what Saitama can comprehend. Burroughs has healed his right arm. Suddenly, Saitama gets bored of Burroughs' self-bragging. Burroughs gets furious and hits Saitama with some serious blows that have the impact of strong missiles. Burroughs hits Saitama with such a strong attack that launches him into space and lands him on the moon. Saitama jumps back to Earth after leaving a giant dent in the moon. Burroughs is exhausted with enormous stress, which shortens his life. As Burroughs catches his breath, Saitama lands back on the ship. Burroughs is confused beyond belief and charges towards Saitama with everything he has got. Saitama punches Burroughs and makes him bleed. Saitama shatters Burroughs into bits with his consecutive punches, but Burroughs heals quickly and starts charging up his strongest final attack, which is melting the metal of the ship. Burroughs launches the classic star-roaring planet cannon at Saitama, who counters with a serious punch. The punch is so strong that it splits the sky while finishing Burroughs, who is taking his last breath. Burroughs gazes in awe at Saitama, acknowledging his incredible strength, yet deeming him a cheater for holding back his full power. As the confrontation escalates, Burroughs marvels at Saitama's overwhelming might, a force too potent to reckon with. The climax arrives when the power sphere, the very lifeblood of the ship, shatters, sending the vessel hurtling to the earth below. In the chaos that ensues, the S-class heroes scramble for safety, evading the impending deluge of wreckage. Amidst the destruction, Ami Mask surveys the devastated cityscape, joining forces with the heroes only to chastise them for the collateral damage incurred. As tensions mount, a new player enters the fray. Metal Knight strides onto the scene, igniting further discord. Genos, ever vigilant, confronts Metal Knight, probing into his motives and questioning his sudden appearance post-battle. Suspicion hangs heavy in the air as Genos accuses Metal Knight of scavenging alien technology for his own arsenal of deadly weaponry. In a startling turn, Ami Mask, embodying ruthless determination, swiftly dispatches the alien survivors captured by the heroes, leaving no room for negotiation or mercy. Ami Mask leaves the scene after mocking Genos. Saitama emerges from the ship when Tatsumaki confronts him, asking what a weakling like him was doing inside the ship. Genos and Saitama completely ignore Tatsumaki and decides to start moving back home. However, she stops them and starts yelling, having them both stare at her in awkwardness. Genos calls Tatsumaki a crazy brat, causing her to plaster Genos on the rubble. Just as she was going to make Saitama her next target, Bang calms her down. Saitama decides to take Genos out from the rubble, with of course accidentally breaking his arm. Cydia has completely been annihilated, soon to be rebuilt even stronger and better than before. The next day, as Saitama and Genos are returning from the grocery store, they encounter a boy with a wild afro, looking like he's from the rougher parts of town, terrifying the girls nearby with his abnormally long tongue. But then, a hero named King arrives. King's reputation precedes him. He's such a legend that no one dares to challenge him for long. His mere presence, known as the King's Engine, is intimidating enough to make anyone flee on sight. And what's his real power, you may ask? Literally pure plot armor. As onlookers gather around King, they begin to inflate his ego with endless questions, each one more foolish than the last. Clearly uncomfortable, King waves them off, explaining he was simply out for some grocery shopping and would like some peace and quiet. Meanwhile, King is actually only excited about the video game he has in his hand, desperately waiting to reach home so he could sulk in a corner while playing his games. Saitama asks Genos about who that guy is and Genos tells him that he is one of the heroes at the Class S gathering. As King makes his way home, he suddenly hears a woman's terrified screams. Before he can react, a towering, clunky robot lumbers into view, looking like it was designed by a 2-year-old with spare parts. The robot introduces itself as G4, a creation of the organization, and announces its mission to eliminate King. Meanwhile, Genos and Saitama observe from the sidelines. With his mechanical precision, Genos remarks to Saitama that King is sure to beat the robot to scrap metal. However, King pauses, explaining that he needs a quick trip to the restroom, otherwise he won't be able to unleash his full potential. Constipation, as he says, is no friend to power. The robot, a bit confused but obliging, grants him a 10-minute break and warns that for every minute he's late, it'll send 10 unlucky souls to visit Toji. Right when the fight is about to begin, King runs away at Naoto's speed and hides himself in the bathroom stall. He thinks about how he is just a below-average 29-year-old unemployed loser who only happened to be at places where monsters were eliminated by others. Bro is sweating like a pig and wonders what really is a King engine. He wets his pants in fear, his face full of fear and dread. Well, the good thing is, he acknowledges the fact that he is way more cowardly than what he shows. He recalls how he only used his name as King to get free games. Suddenly, the bathroom begins to rumble and he holds the walls because the Pookie Bear is getting scared of dying. Of course, he knows he gotta escape this place somehow, so he wears his hoodie on his head to escape. King then hurries back to his apartment. While he is running, he hears fighting noises and thanks God that someone else is fighting it and he is saved. Back at the market, Genos, using his abilities, fights with the monster while Saitama is watching him and asks Genos if he needs his help. Genos responds that he is enough to mess with the wirings of the low-life robot and says that to achieve his assignment to him and rank in the top 10 of classes, he needs to be able to defeat something like that on his own. Saitama then leaves Genos with the robot and goes to find the King. King, on the other hand, reaches back in his apartment and plugs in his video games to feel better about the situation, as if he wasn't about to just let all those people take the hits for him. As he is about to start a screen and appears asking for the game's name, King ponders over what game name he should use. But then King hears someone tell him to use King as the game name. At first, he begins to respond that he can't use his real name, and suddenly when he realizes that there is someone else, King panics and his eyes widen in shock and slowly turns around and comes face to face with Saitama's bald head. I mean, seeing a bald man in your apartment without any notice does sound scary. Then, Saitama asks King why he ran away from the fight. He wonders if King is tired of fighting monsters. King ignores him. King pushes himself away from Saitama and asks him how he got in there. Saitama points to the window and tells him that it was open, so he let himself in. King's eyes burst out of his sockets as he screams that it is the 22nd floor. Then, Saitama looks at the game he was about to play and he completely ignores King's shock, like the way your dad ignored your existence.
What more do you want from me?
And casually joins King for some video games, as if there isn't a whole monster apocalypse happening outside. A few minutes in, a massive eagle-faced monster shows up, targeting King specifically like it's got beef. King panics, dashes off, and, because he's consistent at least, wets his pants again. But when he looks up, there's Saitama chilling, holding the monster back with one hand like it's some minor inconvenience. Saitama, catching King's reaction, deadpans, asking why he's still scared. King, looking down in full-on cringe mode, admits that his S-class hero status was pure dumb luck, not because he actually earned it. Saitama, with all the energy of someone who doesn't care about anyone's imposter syndrome, tells King to quit being a sore loser and start owning his title because, like it or not, people look up to him, though honestly, nobody knows why. King looks at Saitama and realizes that Saitama had saved him in the past after saving him from being attacked yet again. His eyes tear up, and a snort runs down his face. Saitama then makes him sit and asks him if it's fun for the King to be a hero, and then lies to people around him. King looks down ashamed and tells him it is no fun. Saitama tells him it is not his business to intervene and he is not here to lecture the King. But King interrupts and informs Saitama that he has gotten credit for Saitama's victories. Saitama scoffs and tells the pathetic junk of a man in front of him that credit is not the issue, it is the fact that the King is everyone's hero. Saitama then asks King if he wants to keep on living like a liar or if he will quit being a hero. King looks down on his pal and tells Saitama that he is not man enough to decide. Saitama then gets up and is about to leave when King stops him and asks him why he is not angry with him. Saitama does not spare a glance at King's direction and tells him that he will drop by to play video games with him. And this is how King began to get his one and only superpower, which is to somehow summon Saitama anytime he is in danger. On the other hand, Genos, after his fight with the robot, rushes to his doctor with a piece of the robot's body he just swapped. He informs the doctor that the junk he brought is from a robot that called itself Machine God G4. Genos further informs the doctor that the robot possesses incredible power and a highly advanced AI. Genos then asks the doctor to install all the compatible parts of the junk he brought on him. The doctor looks at Genos, his huge nose right in everyone's business, and asks him where he obtained the junk from. Genos, instead of answering the doctor's question, tells him that he needs to be stronger. The doctor then agrees to fit the junk inside Genos. The doctor informs Genos that there are places inside Genos for improvement. He adds that he understands that Genos is a cyborg who pursues justice, but Genos should not take it too far. Genos responds that pushing his limits comes with the job. He declares to the doctor that his goal is to make the Class S top 10. The doctor, disappointed, asks Genos if this goal is coming from his mentor. The doctor reminds Genos of the rogue cyborg that destroyed Genos' hometown, for which Genos undertook the mission to become a hero. Genos informs the doctor that he was not able to collect any intel on the rogue cyborg. The doctor then looks down, upset and disappointed that Genos' mission has changed from wanting to stop the cyborg to becoming the S-class hero. The doctor informs Genos that the rogue cyborg has exploited many towns and killed many people. Genos promises the doctor that he will find the rogue cyborg and tear it apart with his hand, or what's left of them. He continues that he will do it at all costs. The doctor thinks to himself that Genos has become a hero and has found a mentor, yet the hatred for the rogue cyborg he has is consistent. The doctor lets Genos know that he is worried for him. He adds that he is on the trail of that cyborg and is aware of how dangerous the rogue cyborg has become. The doctor then warns Genos to not do anything rash when he encounters the cyborg. The doctor advises Genos to contact him as soon as he comes across the rogue cyborg. He adds that he is aware of how cool-headed and smart Genos is, but the passion of youth can lead anyone astray. The next morning, the president of the Hero Association announces that he leads the Earthdoom Prophecy Emergency Countermeasures team. He then welcomes all the villains to the headquarters. He then reassures them that nothing of their past records or activities will be discussed, and that the heroes standing before them are only there for the president's protection. The president is then interrupted by a villain, Sonic, who asks him where Saitama is and if he lives in the building. The president looks at Sonic confused and warns him to save unrelated topics for later. Sonic cross-argues and informs the president that if Saitama is not around, then he is leaving. The heroes warn Sonic against leaving, but he instead brings out a bunch of papers and starts reading the meeting minutes of the current meeting, which is not even concluded. Sonic then scoffs that he would rather puke his guts out than play hero with the Hero Association. A man named Garu interrupts the meeting. When Sonic leaves the meeting, the heroes ask the president if he has the approval of the association to ask for help from villains. The president pathetically growls and tells them that he has the approval of the association. He then focuses his attention back on the villains and tells them that mankind is on the verge of collapsing, as if they cared, and they will not be able to save it unless heroes and villains unite as one. He tells them that the heroes under their assigned classes are not enough to fight against the aliens. The president then makes an offer to grant them anything they desire if they agree to the terms and conditions laid down before them. A voice interrupts the meeting. He remarks how accurate is the prophecy of aliens taking over the world. He boasts that the prophecy is right to the extent that all the nobodies combined in the meeting room would not be able to take him down. The president asks the mysterious man who he is. The man introduces himself as Garu, then continues that he has taken down many heroes and he can easily take down everyone here. He then challenges everyone and asks them to come at him. The president warns Garu to stop fooling around and tells him to bounce. Garu continues making stupid remarks about how unwelcoming the hero headquarters is and that he will not leave. The president, annoyed with Garu, orders the heroes to finish him off, but G-But around uninstalls them in mere seconds. The rest of the villains start cheering for Garu, but Garu lets them know that he is not on their side either and challenges them to combat as well. Blue Fire then attacks Garu, but Garu dodges it and instead, the Blue Fire's attack backfires. Garu ends up deleting everyone in the meeting hall. The president yanks his pants and calls for S-class heroes for backup and hides under the table. Garu approaches the minister and informs him that he cannot fight S-rank heroes for now, but exactly after half a year he will come to challenge them and show them who is the strongest. Meanwhile, Fubuki is on her way to Saitama's house with her guard. She asks her guards what they are supposed to do when the target resists. The guards respond that they are to beat the target to the extent that he never dares to misbehave again. Saitama, on the other hand, oblivious to the fact that he will have guests over soon, is playing video games and Genos is washing dishes. Genos informs Saitama that he has been upgraded to S-class rank 14, and Saitama has upgraded to Class B. Genos continues that Saitama never informs the association about the monster he takes down, but despite that, his grade is being upgraded. Genos then adds that this might be because citizens have started taking notice of Saitama's victories and have started informing the association about it. He then says to Saitama that soon citizens will start a fan club for Saitama. Saitama, still focused on his game, answers that even Class S heroes don't have a fan club. As they're speaking, Genos suddenly feels a strange presence in the vicinity. He decides to go and check it out himself as Saitama is occupied with the game. Genos thinks to himself that this will also help him to test out his latest upgrades. When he steps out, he sees Sonic. Genos asks him what he is here for. Sonic responds that he is here to settle a score with Saitama as he is his rival. Genos laughs at Sonic for comparing himself to Saitama. Speedo Sound Sonic scoffs at Geno and insults him for following around Saitama as his personal toilet paper. Genos takes Sonic away from their apartment and starts fighting him. In the meantime, Fubuki arrives at Saitama's house and starts talking to him. She tells him about the hero industry and offers him to join her group. Saitama teases her and rejects her offer. And well, she ain't this so lightly, causing him to punch her guard and sends them flying. Fubuki gets angry and uses her supernatural ability to fight him. But Saitama, a bit confused on why is she even mad in the first places, and easily dodges her attack. Back to Genos, launching a really powerful attack in the direction of Fubuki, but Saitama protects her. Sonic and Genos start their fight again and Genos cuts off Sonic's ponytail and he gets angry. Sonic lands a major blow at Genos, but Saitama protects him. He tells Genos to stop behind because Sonic came after him. Sonic gets all fired up. He uses his ultimate skill and creates 10 after images of himself. Fubuki is surprised. She thinks that Saitama doesn't have any chance against him. Saitama uses his speed and creates unlimited after images, which makes Sonic surprised and he accepts his defeat. King comes to Saitama to get his game back and Fubuki is surprised because she also wants to be his friend. On the other hand, higher authorities think Garu is a joke and ignore the minister's concern. Garu, on the other hand, starts his own association to uninstall heroes from the face of the earth, proving the president's concerns to be true. Somewhere far in a distant land, Chirenko lies straight on the floor, his eyes swollen, beaten up like a sore loser. His master, Bang, scolds him for being such a loser. He recalls for Chirenko that when he was first made a disciple, he was asked to train like a horse, as if it was his only source of living. Bang continues that Chirenko has no talent for martial arts and helping him train is just a waste of time. He then expels Chirenko from dojo and orders him to never show his stinky face again. Chirenko, disappointed, goes to meet up with Saitama. He tells him everything that has happened at the dojo. Saitama listens to him intently, while Genos, Fubuki and King make mindless remarks about how Chirenko is disturbing their gaming sessions. Chirenko asks Saitama for his help. Genos, who is listening to Chirenko's yapping, makes a guess that Garu might be involved in Chirenko's expulsion. Chirenko gasps and tells them that Garu was kicked out of the dojo last year. Genos explains to Chirenko that Garu has been classed as a criminal. Bang meets his brother, who is concerned about Garu. He tells Bang that if they won't stop Garu, he will come to attack him at his dojo. Both brothers decide to hunt Garu and defeat him before he gets more powerful. And a warning to you all, this is going to be the most disrespectful fight of all time, so be prepared. While Chirenko is on his way back, he hears Garu's voice while he is hunting a hero. Suddenly, a bunch of other heroes come out to take revenge, and there is also an S rank among them. The S rank hero's name is Tank Top and he gets defeated by Garu because he uses Bang's technique. Chirenko jumps in to fight with Garu, but he gets injured seriously. On the next day, Saitama visits the hospital to check on Chirenko and others. Chirenko gets excited upon seeing Saitama. Saitama narrates some news to Chirenko about a butt-kicking monster who took down several heroes in one go. Chirenko explains that it was not a monster but a human who did it. Saitama was surprised. Then Tank Top interrupts and informs Saitama that Garu's moves were sophisticated martial arts techniques and that he was strong as heck. Saitama asks Chirenko in a hushed-up voice who the huge buff is. Chirenko gasps and tells him that the huge buff is a S-class hero. Tank Top shares everything he knows about Garu, sparking Saitama's sudden interest in martial arts. Chirenko hands him a ticket to an upcoming martial arts tournament, and Saitama is taken aback to see a prize of 3 million yen. Motivated by the reward, he decides to enter the tournament. Garu notices a young boy reading the hero's almanac and asks him for the latest information. The boy eagerly shares details about various heroes, but Garu dismisses him, claiming monsters are far more intriguing. Rising to his feet, Garu leaves, intent on hunting heroes, and heads to a bar where he confronts Golden Ball, an A-rank hero. A fierce battle ensues, with another A-rank hero joining the fray. Though Garu ultimately defeats both heroes, he sustains injuries in the process. Nearby, Saitama is shopping for a wig when he crosses paths with Garu. Mistaking Saitama for someone pursuing him, Garu attacks, but Saitama remains unharmed. Wondering who is this nobody trying to steal from him. With a frightened face, this man's looks like he just seen the face of death. And well, since he thought he was trying to steal, Saitama chose to give him a nice tap on the shoulder. Sending Garu sprawling to the ground. Back at home, Saitama is trying on his new wig when Genos sees him. Concerned, Genos contacts the doctor, claiming his master might be in serious trouble and even requests fiber hair implants for Saitama. Ignoring Saitama's protests, Genos remains completely focused on finding a solution. Long ago, when Garu was a little kid, he was into monsters more than heroes. For him, monsters had stories too and they should be equally praised. He thought that they were amazing, and that came out to be the reason for him to become a human monster, because he wants to prove that monsters have ambition, and they are also impressive. Garu would cheer for monsters on his favorite show but always ended up disappointed because in the end the beasts would be defeated by the heroes. For young Garu, it was hard to believe that heroes never lost. For him, monsters tried harder than heroes, so why do heroes get to take the win every time? He used to wonder why the popular win when hated ones lose. In the present time, Garu still holds the same belief, wondering why the monsters lose to the heroes. He thinks to himself that if this is how the world works, then he will become the strongest of monsters and will end up losing to no one. His chain of thoughts is broken when the stink of the dumpster he is lying in wakes him up. Garu wakes up in a garbage dump and his memories from last night are fizzy. Chirenko is curious if Saitama is dumb enough to fight in the tournament under his name and he starts panicking. The Hero Association starts showing concerns over Garu and the higher authorities feel unsafe. The Hero Association reaches out to King and asks him to provide security, but he rejects them and tells them that he is currently in the middle of a fight but he is playing video games. Another S-rank hero, Metal Bat, decides to provide security to an official of the Hero Association and suddenly monsters attack, and they are after the chairman's son and kidnap him. Saitama wears a wig and registers in the martial arts tournament under the name of Chirenko. He meets a friend of Chirenko and hides his face from him. Chirenko's friend tells him about the incident last year when Garu took the first prize after pretending to be someone else. Metal Bat kills the monster swiftly and one of them says that their superiors will appear soon. Suddenly, a few other monsters come out of the ground and Metal Bat escorts the chairman and his son to safety and kills the monsters again. He also forgot to ask them about their motive. The headquarters reports that the chairman is safe, but the senior officer is concerned and tells his subordinate about the incident 2 years ago when junior and senior centipedes appeared back to back. Suddenly, a giant centipede appears in the city and a dragon-level threat gets published. Metal Bat is injured and 2 junior heroes come to assist him. He tells them to carry the chairman and his son and run as far as they can without looking behind. Metal Bat then focuses his attention back on the giant centipede he is trying to take down. He recalls the previous attacks where the centipede dodged Metal Bat attack easily. He realizes that the centipede at every attack protects its face. Metal Bat then lays out a strategy to attack the centipede's face. He rushes and climbs up on the centipede and runs on it until he reaches right on its head. Metal Bat then uses his killer move to destroy the centipede, but ends up getting severely injured and thrown away like yesterday's trash. Garu appears and tells Metal Bat that he is going to defeat him. Metal Bat thinks that he is joking, but when Garu attacks him, he knows that he now has to fight 2 enemies. The Hero Association headquarters finds out that Metal Bat is missing in action, and they get concerned and decide to request backup from a rank hero and above. They look at the monster before them on screen and declare it as a dragon-level emergency. They discuss the strategy to take the monster down. One of the members points out that the King S-Class hero is busy with some other monster, but other S-Class heroes remain missing. The heroes who are carrying the chairman and his son get cornered by the Elder Centipede and they start thinking that they will die, but Metal Knight, an S-rank hero, appears and attacks the monster. The C and D rank heroes start running again, but they get surrounded by other monsters. Suddenly, a big crowd of monsters starts appearing in the city and headquarters knows that they are not capable of handling it. Metal Bat gets severely injured and he is bleeding out, but Garu decides to kill him as fast as he can. Metal Bat starts attacking Garu using his skills and strength, but Garu dodges them and lands blow after blow on Metal Bat. Garu then points out to Metal Bat that he has lost a lot of ketchup, and his bones are broken. What is it that keeps Metal Bat standing? Some stupid hero pride. Metal Bat ignores Garu and tries to attack him again with his bat but misses. Garu then realizes that Metal Bat's swings are getting faster and more powerful. He notices that with each hit and each attack, Metal Bat keeps getting stronger. With that, Metal Bat lands a hard swing at Garu and ends up injuring him. While both of them are fighting, other heroes start appearing in the city to defeat monsters. At some point, Metal Bat can get ahead of Garu and attack him fiercely, but he stops in the middle of the fight because his sister appears. Metal Bat made a promise to his sister that he would not use violence in front of her. Garu tries to take advantage of the situation, but Metal Bat's sister covers his brother as a shield and she keeps telling Garu that it is over. Garu walks away because he remembers that he has to do something else. Metal Bat tries to continue his fight but falls to the ground unconscious. The monsters see Garu and they decide to invite him to the Monster Association, but he is rejected. Saitama walks onto the stage with another martial arts artist and Genos starts cheering him on from the crowd. Zakos, another martial arts participant, makes fun of Saitama and says that he is weak, while Chirenko's friend tries to explain to him that he has to try his best. Bang and Tatsumaki start fighting monsters in the city and they turn the tides and help others. Saitama gets ready for his match and it is against Zakos, who starts teasing Saitama that he is weak and he will defeat him. The match starts and Zakos moves forward to attack Saitama, but he punches him in the face and sends him flying. The crowd starts laughing because Zakos made a joke out of himself. Saitama is going to fight Bakuzen, who observes Saitama's fight and finds out that it is not going to be easy. In the martial arts competition, the people go absolutely nuts when they see a man walking toward the ring. King informs Saitama that the energy of the crowd is going crazy. Saitama with his ugly wig wonders why that's happening, But then the announcer makes the call that it's Suryu who is walking into the stadium. The announcer screams that no one thought Suryu would ever walk again in a martial arts combat, but here he is, standing before the crowd in his glory. The combat begins with Suryu first facing Max. When Max notices Suryu, he wonders if Suryu is actually that better than him, but then he reassures himself that he is better than everyone around. When he finally faces Suryu, he scoffs that taking down Suryu will be a walk in the park. But faster than he can finish flexing, Suryu lands a single kick. And boom, he's flat on the floor, looking like someone unplugged his batteries. On the bleacher just as Genos is about to chill, he gets a message about a ton of monsters near the tournament. He gets off to fight the monsters. Meanwhile, Snakebite Snack, who's looking like a cheap Christmas decoration, manages to beat his opponent, Benpatsu. The announcers start getting warnings about the monster outbreak and are ready to evacuate the audience. As they are about to make the announcement, Bakuzen enters, looking like a knockoff action figure from a discount store, flexes his muscles, and convinces them to keep everyone seated as they are safer here. In the ring, Sourfist faces Jacuman and wins his match against Jacuman, and they part ways on good terms. Then comes Saitama, struggling to tie the elastic on his trousers, while Bakuzen brags about how he'll destroy him and eat his hair off like a bad wig from Wish. But when Bakuzen dares to touch that wig, Saitama comically punches him out of the tournament in one hit, sending him flying as he got yeeted into orbit. Suryu, witnessing all this, can't help but be impressed. Genos is meanwhile slashing through monsters like they're made out of paper, but one, the demon-level awakened cockroach, keeps on dodging Genos, making it hard for Genos to attack him. Then Genos uses his special ability to finally get hold of the monster, but the monster escapes Genos' wrath. On another battlefield, Duess, dressed in cheap Shane factory ribbons, her plots on full display, has successfully brainwashed Fubuki's henchmen, turning them into her puppets. However, Fubuki, ever the Ice Queen, repels their attacks. Duess mocks her, saying she's only doing this to face Tatsumaki, but Fubuki warns her that the moment she gets hurt, Tatsumaki will know. Right on cue, a monster crash lands near them, and Tatsumaki herself shows up. Duess orders the mind-controlled henchman to attack Tatsumaki and makes a run for it. But Tatsumaki, in true style, casually yeets the henchmen into buildings, leaving them stuck to the walls like bugs that just met the business end of a fly swatter. Back in the tournament, Suryu faces off with Snek, dodging his attacks like it's child's play. As Snek gets frustrated, Suryu mocks him for being ineffective as a hero, saying he gained power without any real purpose. This taunt gets Snek all fired up, but Suryu knocks him out with a single blow, musing that no matter what happens, the truly strong will always survive, calling Snek a sore loser. While Sek is beaten up like a sore loser, Garu trails after Watchdog Man. Whereas Saitama is reading in the stadium's bathroom and a dragon-level monster, Gaudescu defeats Genos. Meanwhile, Mask's concert is attacked by a group of monsters, and another group of monsters takes over the hospital where Mumen Rider and Tank Top are. In the prisons, a monster named Nyan looks for Puri Puri's prisoner, but is informed that Puri Puri escaped prison to fight monsters. On the other hand, Metal Knight gets captured by Gyoro and Arachi. The whole city falls under the attack of monsters. In the monster's cave, a monster lets its president know that the Hero Association has been greatly weakened by their shenanigans. The Monster King Arachi is told by Gyori that the Monsters Association's victory is near and that they will soon be able to take over the world. The Hero Association gets word that Watchdog Plaza is under attack by a group of monsters. Before they can make a move, Child Emperor, S-Class Hero Rank 5, sends out his robot, Underdog Man number 22, to analyze a monster named Eyesight's poisons and find a cure for the paralysis. Afterward, he tries to pull a fast one by detonating Underdog Man near Eyesight, hoping to blow her up, but it doesn't go that smoothly. Instead of dying, Eyesight transforms into a creepy, ugly insect. She manages to track down Child Emperor, but just when she's about to end him, Pig God rolls in and literally eats her whole. Meanwhile, Death Gatling gathers some heroes to take on 100 Eyes Octopus. They're all hyped for battle, but before they can do much, Flashy Flash arrives and cuts the octopus up with his ridiculous speed, moving faster than your Wi-Fi going down. Right when he's about to finish it off with a dramatic move, Tatsumaki swoops in and casually wipes out the octopus. On the flip side, Atomic Samurai heads to a meeting with the Council of Swordmasters to talk about the Garu problem. Nichiren, Zanbai, and Amahara agree to help him. But Harajiri shows up looking like a mess and pulls out monster cells, bragging about how he's teamed up with the Monster Association. He threatens the others, saying they better join him or he'll turn them into a bunch of pathetic losers shoved aside and thrown away like a trash bag. Before he even knows what's happening, Atomic Samurai slices him in half, putting an end to his villain monologue. Then he heads out with his disciples to find the Monster Association's base. Meanwhile, at the Super Fight Tournament, Saitama first faces Scourfist, who makes fun of Saitama but ends up beaten up like a sore pathetic loser just by one punch. Then Saitama faces Chose, who again brags about how good he is and how he will defeat Saitama, but again Saitama lands one punch and Chose faints. Saitama defeats Sourfist and Chose without even breaking a sweat. In the finals, he faces Suryu. Suryu praises Saitama and asks him what he is here for. Saitama tells him that he is always after the thrill. He tells Suryu that he thought he would come here and learn something, but it turned out to be nothing but a big joke. Suryu then promises to teach Saitama what martial arts are really about. Suryu, as the fight continues, tells Saitama how it's pointless to be a hero. He starts bragging about how the hero's life is lame, persuading Saitama that being a hero is like playing an endless grind game. Totally pointless. Suryu says if Saitama wants to know the secret to being less of a nobody, he should start chasing thrills like him. Saitama, visibly annoyed, lets Suryu kick him in the head. The wig flies off, and Saitama is finally exposed. Saitama then throws a quick punch, but holds back, causing a shockwave so powerful that Suryu's clothes get blasted off, turning him into a muscular, stunned statue. Saitama gets disqualified, but Suryu, still salty, attacks again with his final move, Void Phoenix Ascension Fist. Saitama is unfazed by the assault. When Saitama says that martial arts are techniques that make you look cool, then he starts rotating like a pizza in the oven, dodging Suryu's attacks effortlessly, and starts spinning around. Suryu tries to attack Saitama yet again, but is knocked back by Saitama into a wall while taking Saitama's white belt, resulting in Saitama's pants falling down. Despite Suryu embarrassing Saitama with that action, he is still in deep shock that he lost. In the post-credit scene, Genos wakes up from the wreckage, and a monster is heading toward the martial arts tournament. Suryu goes in one last time but gets yeeted into a wall like a trash can, and gets in deep shock for losing it to Saitama. During the closing ceremony, the host appreciates Suryu and says that despite the mishap, Suryu came out unscathed. Suryu wonders unscathed. He thinks to himself that had Saitama not stopped short, he would have turned into dust. Suryu's chain of thoughts is broken when the host adds that the arena is surrounded by the monsters and they are ready to attack. While Suryu is being handed a trophy he clearly didn't win, the stadium is suddenly attacked by the monsters. The huge monsters come flying down in the arena holding Logi, Dave, and Bazuzu, the competitors who were taken to the hospital. Then enter Gautesco. He stomps on the fighters who try to run. Gaoketsu scoffs at how the martial arts have fallen and the entire arena is filled with trash and no real fighters. Gaoketsu then announces that everyone inside the arena will be turned into a monster. Gaoketsu declares that turning the bunch of clowns into monsters will be useful to the Monster Association. Lightning Max and Snek rush to stop Gaoketsu, but both get knocked aside like paper airplanes. Gaoketsu reveals that years ago, he lost a battle with a monster but didn't die. He was taken by their association and transformed into a monster himself. He says that the Monster Association promised to fulfill all his ambitions. He tells the people around him that he has brought the same fate for them. He throws some monster cells to the martial artists and makes them an offer to become a monster or get deleted. One of the martial artists goes in and inhales the monster cells, but the strength becomes so unbearable for him that he ends up uninstalling himself. Chose, eager for more power, eats the slimy thing and turns into a hideous-looking monster. One by one, each martial arts fighter starts eating the monster cells for energy, strength, and ultimate power. All except Suryu, who says that he lives for thrill and does not want his life defined like others. Chose then starts attacking unarmed people, but Suryu steps in and beats him down. Chose gets up again. Suryu tells him that Chose is not bad at fighting. Chose gets irritated at Suryu's remarks and starts generating some huge power ball between his horns. Suryu, not even fazed by the ultimate power showdown before him, rushes towards Chose, holds him by his horns, and breaks them away from his head. Suryu then lands a kick and Chose gets thrown away into the wall. Suryu then wipes out a few other monsters as well. He picks up the monster cells thrown at him by Gaoketsu and throws them back at him. In response, Gaoketsu sends his monster crows to attack Suryu, including Sourfist, and they pummel Suryu like he's nothing but a punching bag. Bakuzen watches everything unfold, admitting that he's always hated Suryu but also knows he could never beat him. Deciding to change that, Bakuzen grabs 3 monster cells to keep Suryu from being tempted and eats them all. However, the overload causes him to faint on the spot. Before the monster crows can feast on Suryu, Lightning Max and Snek come to his rescue, beating the crows into oblivion. They try to stall Gaoketsu to buy Suryu time to get help. But Bakuzen, fully transformed into a monster, wakes up and absolutely eats Suryu, pummeling him nearly to death. Meanwhile, Mumen Rider and Tank Top Master are busy defending the hospital where Chirenko is staying. Back at the Coliseum, Bakuzen arrogantly declares himself the strongest after beating Suryu, but Gaoketsu quickly reminds him who's boss by almost killing him with a single punch, which also destroys part of the Coliseum. Gaoketsu warns Bakuzen not to get too cocky, then receives a message from Jayoro to retreat since S-class heroes are approaching. He leaves, but not before reminding Bakuzen to stay in his lane. As Suryu lies beaten and helpless, he weakly pleads for Bakuzen to spare him, saying he's already won. But Bakuzen, enjoying the suffering, prepares to stomp on Lightning Max and Snek. Just as Suryu cries out for help, Saitama arrives at the last second to save the day, stepping in to face Bakuzen. Suryu watches Saitama entering the stadium. His eyes fill up with tears as he sees Saitama closing in. Saitama tells Suryu that he heard his call for help, so here he is to help him out. He appreciates Suryu and his outstanding skills and tells him to leave the rest to Saitama. Suryu, all beaten, looks up at Saitama, walks up to Bakuzan and recognizes Saitama's bald head from earlier. Bakuzan recognizes Saitama as the guy who knocked him out earlier with a single punch. Furious, he launches a full-force attack at Saitama, but once again, Saitama blocks and finishes him off with one effortless punch. Afterward, Saitama introduces himself to Suryu as a hero and explains that he joined the martial arts tournament to track down the hero hunter, Garu, and to see what martial arts are about. Saitama starts to leave, but Suryu begs him to stay because Gaoketsu is still out there, but Saitama still walks out. As Suryu listens to the sounds of fighting and destruction, he assumes Saitama has been defeated, until Gaoketsu's severed head lands at his feet like a deflated basketball. Suryu looks up in disbelief as Saitama returns completely unharmed. Saitama casually tells him to keep quiet about what just happened. Still in shock, Suryu asks if he could become a hero too. Saitama nods, saying that if someone like him could do it, anyone can. Suryu then asks if he could be Saitama's disciple, but Saitama quickly refuses without hesitation. Later in the evening, Saitama reflects on his experiences and realizes that despite everything he's done with martial arts and the Hero Association, he still hasn't had any fun. King later meets up with Saitama and suggests that his focus on being the strongest hero has caused him to lose sight of himself. He advises Saitama to aim to be the best hero instead. Saitama dismisses the idea as boring but regains some motivation when King offers to challenge him to a game using only 2 fingers. Garu, on the other hand, faces off against Watchdog Man but is defeated due to the hero's unpredictable, animal-like fighting style. Although beaten, Garu feels excited about what he could learn from the experience. As he walks off towards his next target, Garu spots King. He prepares to attack him but is suddenly kicked into a concrete wall like a pathetic bug by Saitama. Genos, meanwhile, is sent for repairs to Dr. Cusino. Sonic is training when 2 powerful ninja warriors, Gale Wind and Hellfire Flame, attack him and offer him monster cells to increase his power. Sonic cooks the cells before eating them, and instead of getting some monster energy, he gains a brutal case of diarrhea. So much for monster mode. Back at his place, Saitama keeps losing to King in their video game battles. During a break, Saitama notices King's phone and asks about it. King explains it's for hero emergencies, like a hero's bat signal. Although, I don't know why he even has that, considering he ain't finna answer sheet. Meanwhile, Gyoro and Destrochloritum have taken control of an executive in the Hero Association. They fake a negotiation for monster-human coexistence but then reveal their true plan, to force all the heroes into a massive battle with the Monster Association, right before the vessel Gyoro controls blows up. Destrochloritum grabs his pistols to attack the remaining executives, but Super Alloy Darkshine arrives and finishes him off. In the Monster Association's headquarters, Gyoro and Monster King Orochi hold a meeting. Orochi notices the awakened cockroach, who lost to Genos earlier, and eats him. Duess is spared because Gyoro sees her special abilities. Orochi asks about Gaoketsu but learns he's been killed. Later in the day, the news spreads about the Monster Association's war with the Hero Association, causing the city's monsters to start attacking humans. Saitama, who's running late for his garbage duty, takes them all out in one go. Garu wakes up from Saitama's kick and sees a class hero Death Gatling. Too exhausted to fight, he heads to a shack to rest, with Death Gatling observing him. Taro and his friends find Garu in their shack and force Taro to remove him. Garu tells Taro that if he wants to stop being bullied, he needs to get stronger. In the laboratory, Genos gets all patched up and receives upgrades from Dr. Cusino to handle villains better. Death Gatling and his crew, Stinger, Smile Man, Wildhorn, Chain Toad, Glasses, Gun, and Shooter arrive to confront Garu. Garu glances at Taro's almanac before facing the heroes. He proclaims that defeating them will mean he's beaten 100 heroes. He lunges at them but is knocked back by their attacks and takes 2 poisoned arrows in the back. Garu, noticing their teamwork, targets Glasses, thinking he's the weak link, but finds out Glasses is ready for the fight. Death Gatling describes their motivation for eliminating Garu: to get respect from the Hero Association, which disregards the other valiant heroes in spite of the amount of effort the lesser heroes put out in their job and only gives attention to S-Class. Garu defeats Wildhorn, Gun, Shooter, and Chain Toad. Death Gatling opens fire on Garu, but Glasses moves closer to Garu. Glasses recalls how, after Saitama had previously saved him, he had been despised by Fubuki's crew. Saitama advises Glasses to move forward from his mistakes rather than dwelling on them. Garu dispatches Glasses and Stinger with ease, leaving Death Gatling as the lone survivor. Garu attempts to inform Death Gatling that a child is in the shed, but Death Gatling doesn't think Garu is telling the truth, so he employs his last tactic, Death Shower. Taro is spared when Garu acts alone and diverts all of the gunfire. After causing him embarrassment, Garu vanquishes Death Gatling, and Taro flees upon watching his defeated heroes. Garu searches for a water source, but Glass Signal brings Genos to them. In a video game challenge, King closely beats Saitama, which irritates Saitama greatly. When King's phone buzzes, it means Genos is at the location, probably blowing up another block. Saitama and King head towards him, fully aware that everything Genos touches turns into a dumpster fire. When Garu and Genos start scrapping, Genos whips out his mechanical hand, trying to flex by pinning Garu to a tree. Garu, though, slips out of Genos' grasp, declaring himself to be the ultimate monster, as if anyone actually asked for his main character moment. Garu starts side-eyeing Saitama, questioning who this bald dude really is, while Genos, probably still salty from the last L he took, denies Saitama's claim that he can always beat demons with ease. Before they can finish, a squad of monsters roll up, thinking they're about to make a scene, but Genos wipes them out like he's clearing notifications on a dead app, bragging that he'll get stronger because he's built differently, always learning from his L's. Just as Genos is about to fire another shot at Garu, Bang comes in hot with a head kick. Then Bomb and Bang roll in, with Bomb casually deleting more demons and telling Genos to hand over Garu like it's a group project he doesn't want to finish. As Bang and Garu square up, Bang starts reminiscing about their first meetup, and all I have to say is, this is about to be the most disrespectful fight of all time. Silverfang and Bomb absolutely wreck Garu, handing out a beating like they're trying to uninstall him from life. Flashback to when Garu was a loner and Tat-chan, the popular kid, was living rent-free in everyone's heads. Remembering his early years as a lonely boy shadowed by a popular classmate named Tat-chan is a pivotal moment in Garu's hatred of heroes. Garu hates heroes because he believes that people become heroes not because they are genuinely good, but rather because they want to control the weak. This belief was reinforced when Tat-chan and his friends tormented Garu, calling him a monster and attacking him while he was acting heroically. Garu saw this as evidence of how society rationalizes cruelty by elevating the strong while demonizing the weak. As a result, he decides to play the part of a villain, subverting the system and distancing the idea that only heroes can utilize strength. In fact, Tat-chan and his crew ganging up on Garu wasn't even about something he did. He was just labeled a monster for existing, so they decided to throw hands, like bullies trying to farm clout. Just when Garu's about to catch another L in the present, Phoenix Man swoops in with the kind of last-minute save with whatever chaotic energy he has left. Garu bounces back, handing Fang and Bomb their own share of the roast, showing life isn't done throwing curveballs at him yet. On the other hand, Genos begins to lose hope and thinks he is unworthy since he was unable to defeat the enormous dragon-level monster. When Elder Centipede shows up with a loudhailer challenging him, Fang prepares to face him head-on. Elder Centipede's history was briefly provided by the Hero Association to King, who then lies to provoke the creature into fighting him by claiming that Blast, who is an S-class hero rank 1, had come. King is about to be killed by Elder Centipede until Saitama shows up and delivers a serious punch to it. In the ruins, Genos and Saitama spot one another and Genos asks Saitama what he is missing. To King's dismay, Saitama only responds, power, which Genos notices. After that, Genos anticipates the future with the conviction that he will be strong like Saitama, his own master. He thinks to himself that Saitama is the strongest of them all and he can reach up to that level by same level of consistency and effort. At night, in an abandoned old building, Saitama is munching snacks and watching a series on his television. He goes to the fridge and takes out something to drink and went back to where he was sitting. His eyes are frozen on the television as if he has been hypnotized, since he is watching something about stalking. Apparently, there might be no one living in the old building except for this guy. Later, once he finished watching TV, he got back to his household chores while mumbling that stalkers are very scary. While drying his clothes, he realizes something dangerous, that he has also been feeling eyes on himself. Though Saitama is pretty aware that he has fought many bad guys in the past, so even if someone has a grudge with him, it is no big deal. However, he is scared if that grudge turns into some kind of twisted obsession, like that movie. Uneasy about this thought, Saitama looks back at his room and decides to clean it to forget that thought. In a nearby building, a different story is unfolding. Genos has been investigating the secret power of Saitama's power for 3 days. A long telescope is fixed in the direction of Saitama's apartment, from where his balcony is visible. Time is ticking away for Genos, and he needs to find something out. He wishes to come up with something soon and wonders if Saitama is being cautious intentionally. The next morning, while walking on the side of the road, Saitama senses someone following him as usual, but when he turns around to see, no one is there. However, Genos is good at hiding, so obviously he hid behind the closest tree, understanding that Saitama is on guard. From afar, he spots Saitama going inside a family restaurant. It is the very first time in 4 days that he is eating outside. Genos assumes that maybe the secret of his power lies in his food. Inside the restaurant, Saitama is reading the menu, and that is when one of the waiters comes to take his order, bragging about their restaurant's famous steaks. Concerned, Saitama takes out his wallet, in which only a few coins are present, so he orders only fries. Sighing, Saitama has realized that he needs to do the job again. On the other hand, Genos is observing him from a nearby table. The moment the food arrives, Saitama gets shocked to see such a small portion of fries. When he notices only one long fry and the rest being small, He wonders how expensive things are getting. Disappointed, he leaves for the bathroom. However, as he leaves, Genos finds it very suspicious that this guy orders fries only. Upon getting back, Saitama is flushed to see his one long fry gone, so he asks the waiter about it. The waiter looks at him in shock because who would be questioning a single fry, though Saitama lets it go. On the other hand, Genos is the one who took his long fry, because someone like Saitama going to a restaurant and ordering such food makes him more suspicious about the food. Wearing gloves, he grabs the fry and comes to the conclusion that there is nothing special about his food, maybe since it looks normal no matter how he looks at it. But to be more cautious, he decides to send the data and analyze it as well. On his way back home, Saitama is furious about someone stealing his long fry. His doubts about having a stalker are getting stronger, so he hides behind a trash can until his stalker comes past, as the area he lives in is deserted, so he should be the only one around. However, if someone passes by, it will definitely be his stalker. It has been 2 hours and no one has shown up. Little does he know that his stalker is already stalking him from a bridge, wondering what this guy has been up to for 2 hours. Just then, Genos gets a call from the doctor about the completion of the analysis, so Genos decides to head back. Saitama has given up on his foolish plan. However, from a nearby drug cosmetic store, he hears people screaming and running to be saved from someone. A men's esthetician man, is putting some kind of cosmetic on people's faces and taking out their skin, laughing and claiming to make their skin as dry as a dead leaf. Seeing him being cruel to people, Saitama intervenes, warning the guy to be careful. Instantly, the guy recognizes his bald head, yet Saitama doesn't, so men's esthetician man reminds him that he is the wanted Class B criminal and was punched by Saitama. He admits that the shock of being defeated by Saitama made his skin dry out. Men's esthetician man even admits that he caused all these types of chaos to meet Saitama again. On the contrary, Saitama doesn't remember him, but something clicks in his head, and he assumes that only this guy can be his stalker and a French fry thief, as he admitted on his own that he was searching for Saitama. Before the men's esthetician man could run away, it was too late, and Saitama rushed towards him. Horror washes over the guy's face. Meanwhile, after looking up the data of the fries, Genos regrets it, as it is just normal fries, no different from an average person. However, now there is only one thing left that Genos can do. Despite that, on the road, there's a literal hole in the wall where Saitama slammed the guy, with smoke rising from it. Before leaving, he warns the guy to never ever steal anyone's French fries, no matter how much of a grudge he has with someone. On his way back, Saitama felt a little overwhelmed. He wished someone could appreciate what he was doing. It is not like he wants fans just because he became a hero 3 years ago. He just wants to be understood and to have someone who notices what he has been doing. Just then he remembers a guy who wanted to be his disciple. On the other hand, Genos arrives at the doorstep of someone. Taking a worried sigh, he knocks on the door, ready for the worst outcomes. Don Pacino with his men has brought a poor guy and Genos with him to their secret spot. Don Pacino has held on to something very important to Genos, which is a keychain. Genos, on the other hand, is in a hurry. He has some work to do. He threatens to hold on to the keychain, which is very dear to him, until he tells him everything about the relationship he has with this poor man. He promises to return it if Genos talks. This is why Genos decides to talk. A flashback crosses Genos' mind, so he explains to Don Pacino that today, inside a hot bath, both Genos and Saitama were being weird, talking about how people make noises when being in the hot bath. Both of them are opposed to the voices they mimic of people. Being on the massage table, Saitama hands Genos the same keychain with the keys on it. He even warned him to be careful with it, as losing the keys will only lead to trouble, so this is the reason the keys are important for him. Hearing his side of the story, Don Pacino finds it ridiculous because who really argues about what way people make voices in a hot tub? However, Genos demands the keys back, claiming he would do anything for his master, Saitama. Don Pacino laughs as he has never heard of anyone named Saitama. But when Genos tells him he has a job to do that was given by Saitama, it intrigues Don Pacino to know about the job. Genos explains that Saitama and he were walking across the street. At that moment, Saitama thought that the chill was getting to him, so his gaze darted to a shop selling hot pot, which would obviously warm him up. Even the ingredients were on sale. Not having much money, they decided to split up the ingredients. So basically his job was to run errands, and he was not lying earlier that he was in a hurry. He is in the middle of the shopping center. Hearing something so foolish pisses off Don Pacino. Genos' master asked him to go to 2 supermarkets. By analyzing those markets from a distance, he suddenly got an alert from a shopping district 5 kilometers away, and it is 4 kilometers to the store. This makes Genos realize that the disturbance is in the wrong direction. With that, he decides to arrive at the location to end the trouble. However, that is not it. He was 2 minutes late to the store, and the offer of the sale ended, which makes Genos furious. Upon getting all this information, Don Panico's patience is getting to its limit. He demands to know how Genos knew the man, the number 2 guy in the Typhon family. Genos advises the Don to be patient and explains further that as the sale ended, he went to the second market, and that is where he ran into Don Pacino and his men. The number 2 guy in the Typhon family was passing by, and the store was already closed, so that is when Genos stopped the guy to ask why the store was closed. Thus the guy explains that it must be because of Don Pacino, as he recently drifted into this area and has been poking his nose into everyone's business. Before he could talk more, the poor guy felt dizzy, so he fell on the ground. To check up on him, Genos held him, his keychain dropping on the ground. At that very moment, Don Pacino and his team ended up there. Because of the misunderstanding, Don thought that Genos was with the guy and took his keychain until and unless he explained who he was. Upon receiving this information, Don Pacino's eyes widen with shock, since neither of them has any connection. Still, Genos has been running his mouth and explaining each and every detail just to end up telling Pacino that they are strangers. With that, Genos demands the keychain now that he has explained everything. Pacino's frustration grows, and all his men point their guns at Genos, revealing that they are the Pacino family with a sea bounty on their heads. Once he reveals this, Genos understands that all these men are wanted and were never planning to give back his key to him in the first place like good citizens, so now they have to face the consequences. As soon as the Don hears the threat, he signals his men to attack. But it is of no use. Genos absorbs all the bullets in his hand and instantly causes a loud explosion in the place, leaving them all burned on the ground. Meanwhile, he leaves the place with the innocent man. Back at home, Genos informs Saitama of everything that happened earlier, apologizing for missing the sale too. While cutting the vegetables, Saitama casually reveals that he already has a spare key. Yet, Genos feels guilty of not even being able to run his errands. However, Saitama assures him it is alright and they can have tofu hot pot today. Though his eyes widen in shock when he spots the super expensive meat bought by Genos, he bought it on his way back home. Later on, they sit peacefully and enjoy their hot pot. Speedo Sound Sonic is disturbed. He can't bear the fact that he has lost to Saitama. Even right now, he is trying to fight the non-existent demons, which were never in front of him in the first place. His attention is pulled when a voice breaks in. It is Frank. He confirms with Speedo Sonic if he is okay. But he has been getting these unspeakable dreams that just disturb him a lot. Frank asks him what kind of monster Saitama is, since Speedo Sound Sonic kept muttering his name in his sleep. Speedo Sonic stands in front of a statue of Saitama in a tree. He stares at it. He had never experienced stuff like this ever, and it is all because of the result of his defeat. He has become unable to feel the wind. It is getting harder for him to do his ninja techniques. No matter how hard he tries, he cannot imagine himself winning against Saitama. Later on, he sits with Frank, apologizing for always making him worry. Frank hands him the freshly made tea and assures him it is fine, as it is the same for him too. They can also see monsters they never could have imagined after living in the mountains for so long. He also confesses to having an enemy he wants to defeat, which is a scum of mountains. Frank shows Speedo Sonic the scar that enemy gave him on his hand. It is a wild bear. He explains that he always has a gun with him, knowing that to overcome the greatest fear, people have to face it. The next day, Speedo Sonic is taking a shower by the waterfall at the river, motivating himself to not be scared of someone as he is not that guy. Immediately after that, while going through the forest, he spots a wild piglet being attacked by the anaconda. Just then, the anaconda becomes Speedo Sonic's target for training. He moves swiftly, confusing the anaconda, but as soon as he imagines the anaconda as Saitama, his movements slow down and he backs off. But then, Speedo Sonic decides to acknowledge the fear. The anaconda lunges forward, but with a calculated move, Speedo Sonic slices it into pieces with his exceptional techniques. That night, both Frank and Speedo Sonic had dinner of the meat of snake. Speedo Sonic has brought the piglet with him too. However, it is shocking for Frank to see a wild piglet fancying a human. Though, from then on, he advances his training with Saitama in his mind. He did everything he could in his power, including meditation, improving his techniques, etc. After completing his training, Speedo Sonic arrives at the statue of Saitama and, just like always, imagines himself fighting with him to acknowledge his fear. This time, in his imagination, it was getting hard for Saitama to capture him, and this is why he uses his wind blade kick technique and finally knocks him out in his imagination. Just like that, the statue disappears too, because the statue wasn't real, it was also Speedo Sonic's imagination. When Speedo Sonic thinks that he is now ready to leave, he informs Frank about it and leaves both Frank and the piglet behind. Instantly, after a few moments, something changes in the atmosphere. Frank could feel the danger he has been wanting to feel for so long is here. Frank loads his gun and points it out from where he senses it. However, as the bear comes out, it gets hard for Frank to shoot it correctly, almost impossible. Frank tries to protect himself and the piglet, but he is not able to do that anymore. He is on the ground, scared and waiting for his death, as the bear has trapped him by towering over him. However, everyone turns around instantly when a voice breaks in. It is Saitama. He decides whom to have for dinner. He likes bears, but piglets are better. But scared, the piglet runs away, so not having much of a choice, Saitama hunts the bear. Later on at his home, Genos asks his master if the hot pot is of bear's meat, and Saitama confirms that it is, as there has been a surge of wild bears wreaking havoc around there, and since mostly all the animals in the area are edible, Genos begins to eat the hot pot too. However, Saitama claims that piglets are tastier. At the same time, from a nearby building, Speedo Sonic is stalking Saitama, declaring to kill him once he meets Saitama once again. In the forest, Frank passed out, but after a few minutes, as the piglet smothers itself on his face, Frank quickly wakes up. He smiles, taking a sigh of relief, knowing that he is free from the bear now. Bang stands at a nearby building, Saitama's apartment, wondering what would have happened if he had used his rock-crushing fist of flowing water. He knows it'd be a shame to just leave Saitama to his own devices. Stalking him, Bang spots Genos and Saitama together, leaving their building to go somewhere. This confuses Bang, because why are they together? Just then an old memory crosses Bang's mind when Genos called Saitama his master. He assumes that Genos might be Saitama's student, but their ranks are S and C, so it doesn't make sense. At a nearby forest, they wonder what to have for dinner. However, they have some cabbage left, but Genos thinks of buying some meat. Though Saitama suggests he not to, if they stir-fry the cabbage in yakiniku sauce, it goes amazing with rice. Behind the bushes, Bang is hearing all their conversation, now coming to the conclusion that they are actually teacher and student. On the other hand, Genos realizes that preparation is what truly dictates results, meaning giving a strong weapon can be a waste in the hands of the incompetent. Bang is shocked to hear it because this crazy guy is preaching the principle of martial arts with leftover cabbage. Moreover, Bang thinks to do something, or else the rock-crushing fist of flowing water will end with him. Without huffing anymore, Bang approaches both of them. Confused, Saitama asks Genos who this person is. Having the ability to find anything, he explains that he is Silverfang, the S-class hero. Bang stands there observing both of them, thinking that Saitama looks so ordinary, and in terms of rank, Genos is placed much higher. Still, Genos is the one being a student. When Bang stays quiet for a few moments, both Genos and Saitama decide to leave. Before they could leave, Bang came up with a bunch of questions like where he learned his fighting style from, who his master was, or which style he practiced. However, Bang is astonished when Saitama tells him that he got strong with weightlifting. It is unreal for him because Saitama literally smashed the meteor using pure physical abilities. This shocks Bang, and he offers Saitama to join his dojo, yet when Saitama denies, Bang gives Saitama the address of his dojo and offers them to drop by someday. The next day at his dojo, Bang is meditating, but his patience is on the verge. He can't believe that they haven't arrived as he thought they would. Meanwhile, Saitama and Genos are shopping, and Bang follows them with his stalking skill, claiming that this guy is so inexperienced that he can beat him hundreds of times. Instantly, Saitama runs towards a truck, thinking there is a cat underneath it. However, Genos runs after him too and lifts up the truck. It was just a plastic bag, but now all the meat in the shop is run over by the truck. Just then, Bang interrupts, informing them about having meat that the Martial Arts Association sent over to his dojo. Hearing that, a grin appears on Saitama's face, and they quickly agree to go to his dojo. Upon arriving at the dojo, Bang decides to give them meat. But before that, he shows them how to break a brick in half and feels proud of it. Moreover, his eyes widen in shock when, with a blink of an eye, Saitama shatters the bricks into literal pieces and demands the meat immediately. Bang knows if he fights them, it will hurt them, so he decides to make them understand in a different way. With his assistant Chirenko, he decides to play Karuta with them. But when Saitama asks for the meat, Bang assures him he will give it to him once he wins the game. Spreading the cards, Chirenko reads the cards, and both of them brag about their abilities. But when Genos intervenes and suggests whoever flips the most cards wins, Chirenko understands that these guys are not the type to quietly play games inside. Understanding what he meant, he explains the old training method passed down in their dojo, basically freestyle sparring. First, the two players must decide who will attack and who will defend. This is decided with rock, paper, scissors. The winner has the option to pick up the weapon and strike their opponent. Genos decides to go first with Bang. This round, Genos loses and Bang grabs the item, but now Saitama finds this fun and switches places with Genos. Alternatively, the same happens with Saitama too. But this time, Saitama is angry, he wants to win. More than 10 rounds have been done, and in each round Saitama has lost to Bang and gotten hit by the hammer.
もう一回だ。アンケンポン。ケン。懐かしい。
At this point, Saitama's head is bruised, yet the frustration has grown so much that he wants to win at all costs. Moreover, one last time Saitama wins for the very first time and begins to hit, but Bang could sense that this guy will be hitting very hard because of all the anger, so he dodges the attack, and when Saitama's hand slams on the ground instead, its intensity creates a literal dent in it. Both Saitama and Genos get annoyed at this particular point, though it was just a lesson from Bang. Even though Saitama wasn't interested in the game at first, later on he got serious as the game got interesting because of martial arts. Bang was always going to give them the meat in the first place, but he just wanted them to understand that this is the appeal of martial arts, a thrill they can never get from merely fighting. With that, Bang asks Saitama if he will join his dojo now, but Saitama casually denies. However, later on, both Genos and Saitama end up joining the dojo. The official screams into the microphone, alerting the monster that the Hero Association has assigned the Fubuki group to eliminate it. Without thinking much, Lily lunges toward the monster, but the giant lobster throws its toxic goo. A sudden force shields her from the goo as everyone turns back to see Fubuki in her uniform. Her team exclaims that they are saved now that Boss Fubuki is here to save them. Fubuki says that if Lily takes action like this again, she must be trained from the start. She lunges toward the monster and attacks it, thinking about how it will look good for the Fubuki group. The ground shakes as her power bursts forward, slamming into the monster and pinning it to a building. The fight ends quickly under her lead. The next day, everyone gathers in her office only to find that there is no mention of the Fubuki group in the newspaper. Her team members tell her how other news overshadowed their victory, so they only got a small portion in the newspaper. Someone points out that another monster attack in Z City took the front page instead. Fubuki throws the newspaper across the room and stomps away. Lily quietly says how she has been like this ever since her little sister got on the front page. But a team member corrects her, saying that Tatsumaki is not Fubuki's younger sister. Later, Fubuki gets into the train, lost in her own thoughts and suppressing tears. She takes a window seat and stares out quietly. Genos gets into the same train and is surprised to see Fubuki like this. He thinks about how she is a famous B-rank hero who formed her own group. He looks at her teary eyes and assumes maybe something got into them. He hasn't said anything yet. Fubuki notices the large boxes Genos brought on board. She looks at them and raises an eyebrow. Genos tells her that they're crabs, his latest grocery haul. Just then, he gets a call from his control office. He answers, and the officer on the other side urgently informs him that there is a bomb on a train, and the description matches the one he's on. The train also has issues, and it won't be able to stop anywhere except the next major station. Genos gets off the phone and quickly alerts everyone in the train about the bomb. Panic erupts as passengers begin to scream and move in every direction. Genos turns to Fubuki and says that since she's an Esper, she should help the passengers get off the train safely using her skills. Fubuki blinks and then nods, regaining focus. She steps up and starts moving the crowd, creating wind currents to guide people calmly. Just then, another girl peeks through the chaos, introducing herself as a C-rank hero. She says she will help them find the bomb. Fubuki gives her a brief nod and continues helping passengers. Genos heads toward the engine room, trying to stop the train. But no matter how hard he tries, it doesn't work. The brakes are non-functional. The train speeds forward uncontrollably. Just as it feels like disaster is certain, a higher power suddenly pulls the three of them out of the train. The train itself vanishes from the tracks and floats upward into the sky. A second later, the bomb inside explodes high above the city, lighting up the sky in a dazzling but horrifying flash. Fubuki looks up at the explosion in shock, only to see Tatsumaki hovering mid-air, staring directly at her. They make eye contact for a second before Tatsumaki turns around with an eye roll and disappears into the sky. Fubuki says nothing. She brushes dust off her coat and turns away. As she walks, she thinks to herself how it happened again. She clenches her jaw, keeping herself from showing emotion. Just then, the girl from the train runs up to her, still catching her breath. She says that she'll try to get into the Fubuki party once she achieves her B rank. Fubuki turns to her and tells her to call her boss Fubuki, since that's what everyone at the party calls her. The girl grins and nods, understanding what Fubuki is trying to say. Fubuki lets a small smirk escape and walks forward, her coat billowing slightly in the wind as the sun begins to set behind her. Genos comes into his doctor's office as the doctor asks what more skill he wants now. He tells him how he wants psychic skill appart of every skill he has given him. The doctor asks why he wants the skill so suddenly and tells him that this skill is beyond his powers. Genos tells him that he failed at grocery shopping and if he had this power his crabs would be with him right now. The heroes had formed a circle around the child emperor, who was standing quietly over Zombiman's bloodied body. His face was unreadable as he observed the scene with calculating eyes. The overcast sky above cast a grayish pall over the resort lawn where the incident had occurred. The soft rustle of wind through the trees was the only sound that accompanied the stillness of the moment. The child emperor had begun to investigate the murder, calmly yet firmly noting that killing an S-class hero wasn't something that could be done easily. He had remarked that whoever had carried out the act must have been one of those present. He had glanced at each of the heroes, his mind already racing through possibilities. His memory had taken him back to the beginning of their trip. How all the S-class heroes had been invited by the Hero Association to relax at a hot spring resort after a taxing series of missions. He had remembered the way everyone had seemed eager, even childishly enthusiastic. The hot spring baths had been particularly popular, and many had lost themselves in idle gossip and immature banter. The female heroes had apparently spent part of the evening listening quietly to the boys' conversations, silently judging them for their foolishness while exchanging knowing looks with one another. As the evening had progressed, the head of the Hero Association had gathered them all for a short speech, urging them to let loose and enjoy themselves fully. The banquet that followed had been lavish. Food of every variety had filled the tables. Alcohol flowed freely, bottles of sake, beer, and wine passed from one hand to another. Some heroes had quickly become loud, slurring their words and laughing at nothing. Others had fallen asleep on the floor or in the corners of the room, unable to keep up with the pace. By the time morning had come, they had found themselves in this situation. Confused, disoriented, and surrounded by a horrifying discovery. Now, the child emperor had directed everyone's attention to the katana stained with blood. He had asked who the weapon belonged to. A tall, lean hero had hesitantly stepped forward, only to quickly deny involvement. He had claimed he had left the katana at the banquet hall and hadn't touched it since. The air had turned suspicious. Voices had risen. Fingers had started pointing. Accusations had flown across the group, each person trying to shift the blame away from themselves. No one had remembered anything clearly. A few insisted they had stepped outside before midnight. Others swore they had passed out early and remembered nothing at all. One of the more awkward moments had arisen when someone accused Piri Piri prisoner of staring too long at Zombiman during the feast. The prisoner had waved it off, saying he was merely admiring Zombiman's physique and that only a madman would try to harm such a fine man. He had seemed genuinely hurt by the accusation. Another voice had brought up Saitama, recalling how he had jokingly asked Zombiman whether he would survive being stabbed with a sword. Saitama had replied casually that he had only been curious. Genos, however, had quickly leapt to his master's defense, stating that if Saitama had wanted to kill Zombiman, he would have done it with a single punch. He had then hesitated, lowering his voice to whisper to Saitama that he would always support him no matter what. Saitama had scolded him for even entertaining the idea, clearly annoyed. Tatsumaki had entered the scene then, floating in midair, calling everyone idiots for standing around without conducting a proper investigation. Her voice had been sharp, and her presence had silenced the group momentarily. At that exact moment, Zombiman had begun to stir. Gasps had filled the air as he slowly sat up, groaning. He had looked confused, clearly disoriented. Blood still clung to his neck, though it had dried in thick streaks. He had said he remembered drinking, and then recalled seeing a katana floating toward him, glowing with the same psychic aura Tatsumaki always gave off. She had immediately defended herself, screaming that she would never attack Zombiman, especially knowing he couldn't be killed. Zombiman had appeared unfazed by it all, brushing the incident off as a mere nap. He had told them not to worry and begun walking toward the breakfast table as though nothing had happened. Later, the head of the Hero Association had privately called the Child Emperor to review the CCTV footage. Together, they had watched Tatsumaki drunkenly float the katana toward Zombiman and laugh like a maniac. The footage had shown her stumbling, eyes wild, her laughter echoing unnervingly. The head had asked why she would drink that much in the first place, his expression unreadable. Meanwhile, Genos had followed Saitama down a corridor. Saitama had been muttering about how strange it was for someone like Tatsumaki, small and prideful, to act this way. Genos had informed him that Tatsumaki's pride had likely been damaged the night before when Saitama had casually called her a child. According to him, Tatsumaki had possibly attacked Zombiman knowing he couldn't die, just to prove a point, to show she was strong. Saitama had responded by saying she was terrifying. Genos had simply nodded. He had added that Tatsumaki always overreacted when someone referred to her size or treated her like a kid. Saitama had concluded that perhaps the real mystery wasn't the murder, but why anyone had agreed to attend the trip in the first place. The next day, after chatting about some secret plan, the three of them begin to get a little too excited. Since the world treated them like disposable diapers, they are set on taking some revenge for it. A while later, they walk out of the tiny room after they hit it off despite meeting for the first time. Then, they wonder why the fourth guy who had to meet didn't show up. From the other restroom, Saitama walks out. They sigh when they see him and decide to introduce themselves once again. The first guy is Blaze, who will use his powers to melt off the locks. The second guy is Shivers, who will use his powers of cold breath to freeze the guards. The last guy is Animal Lover, who will have his animals to carry out the loot. Saitama is confused as he hears about the plan, which trembles the trio. They thought he was the guy who came here because of the anonymous forum. Saitama denies, saying he's a hero. Of course, they'd be foolish to let out a hero who just heard their plan, so they decide to test out their powers on him, starting with Blaze, who throws his Hyper Big Bang Burst, which was basically useless.
Big Bang Burst!
Then Shivers throws his freezing tactic on him, and my air conditioner probably would attack better than his attack. Lastly, Animal Lover calls his animals to attack him, and some birds fly and sit on Saitama's shiny bald head. Honestly, a random stray cat would be better at attacking than this guy. But gotta love their confidence as Blaze begins to attack again, but accidentally lights up Shivers' beanie on fire. Shivers tries to blow out the fire and ends up freezing Blaze's hand. In an attempt to unfreeze his hand, Blaze lights up his hand on fire. A whole lotta zoo situation. Animal lover intervenes and orders some birds to flap their wings and blow out the fire, but their attempts are in vain. As Blaze is waving his hand around to get rid of the fire, the sparks end up lighting the three of them on fire while Saitama watches them as they successfully tested their powers on themselves. Then, Saitama decides to help and puts out their fire. They fall on their knees and Animal Lover begins to hate on his mediocre capabilities. But Blaze and Shivers talk him out of it, saying that they will become better. Animal Lover feels motivated and they name their group as the Mediocre Gang. Saitama, trying to assert dominance, wonders if they are trying to become heroes or if they are his fans. But they deny, which makes Saitama think that maybe they were trying to show off. Nervously, they admit that he's probably just overthinking like an alt girl about her long-distance situationship. The group, being unaware of him, call him a local hero, which angers Saitama. An evacuation order is then announced as a dangerous entity has been spotted. They suddenly realize that the creature, a worm, is under the ground and right below them, capturing their feet. The creature begins to talk to them, saying that the humans have changed everything according to their needs. The soil begins to rise and says it'll show now how powerless humans actually are. As the soil begins to fall over them, Saitama holds it down and it crumbles down. The worm knows it's done for and begins to run, but Saitama catches up and punches it to its death. On the other hand, Genos reaches him with the news of the creature, but he sees that Genos has already dealt with it. Then, Saitama gives Genos irrelevant information about his poopy stories while the Mediocre Gang spots Genos. Thinking that they have ill intentions with Saitama, Genos gets furious, but they convince him that they just want to become heroes. Saitama is eased up hearing that, but Genos protests, saying that soon they will become his disciple and move into his apartment, which is ironic coming from Genos. As they begin to walk away, Saitama stops them, saying that they will get killed if they become heroes with such suck-ass powers. So he gives them hypothetical situations which they wouldn't be able to fight off as Genos keeps acting like his hype girl. Then, Saitama announces that he will begin their training. Without any time wasted, he starts their training to make their powers more useful than they are now. He's rigid on getting them into the hero's exam, which of course they didn't expect. After a whole lot of training, they fall on the ground after squatting and doing some exercise. They beg to go home because becoming heroes is something they thought to be as easy as eating a cake. On the other hand, the worm is still not dead yet and emerges from the other side of the ground. The worm is happy that nature is its best buddy as Saitama couldn't get him. As it is celebrating, a little birdie shows up and guess who is going to be little birdie's meal? The worm. The bird captures the worm in its beak and flies away. Atomic Samurai and Silver Fang peacefully sit fishing, talking about the week that has passed since they fought off aliens. They're still glad that they haven't encountered anything yet, taking their time to heal. The aliens weren't that big of a deal for Atomic Samurai, but Silver Fang might have taken some damage. But Silver Fang thinks of it as exercise. Then they talk about how laid back they both have been acting. Due to their aura, they are scaring off the fish. On the other hand, Chain Toad finds an imprint calling for unlicensed rider. They're sure that the monster has escaped into the lake. Then they spot the two of them fishing in the lake with an urge to inform them right away. Since the danger is dire, they decide to face the monster. Back to our oldies, they're bitching about Gen Z. Of course, they still got a problem with us for not doing unpaid labor. Meanwhile, Unlicensed Rider is stressing about the class's heroes, and he has to put it online. Then, Chain Toad feels a presence in the water. The old men discuss Iron, who lost an arm, and the struggles that he must have gone through since he was also a swordsman. But Atomic Samurai assures Silver Fang that he's been training way harder and getting better, someone to feel proud over. Then they get back to about the younger generation once again. According to Silver Fang, the Heroes Association is to blame for it, since the popularity and riches changed the aim to be a hero, but rather to be rich. Further, they discuss the guy who wears a headgear because he ain't popular enough. Suddenly, Chain Toad attacks in the water, grasping something and gets pulled in the water. Unlicensed Rider tries to pull him out, but he gets pulled in instead too. The monster tries to struggle to break free, while the old men keep peacefully fishing. Unlicensed Rider, to protect the elderly, has an idea and he jumps in the water and his partner follows him. Suddenly, the monster jumps out of the water and the old men are unbothered. They discuss how they've been appearing often now, with newfound strength. Our cute hero, Unlicensed Rider, gets thrown out of the water and Chain Toad tries to fight the monster by wrapping it in his chain. Chain Toad finds his skill impressive but not enough and pulls him towards him, swallowing him. The old men keep fishing while observing, and the monster burps. It turns to Unlicensed Rider and points towards the old men, saying that they're shivering out of fear, trying to mock them. But Unlicensed Rider turns its attention towards him, to face him first before touching the two fishermen. The monster mocks him too, saying that he just saw a terrible fight with his partner, and yet still wants to challenge him, only to lose to him. They both jump in the water to have a battle, and due to their fight, the water blows up. The old men give the hero marks for his Silver Fang throws his fishing rod into the water and pulls out a big fish, the monster. The monster tries to attack them, and Atomic Samurai takes his sword and slices him up like sushi. As soon as the monster gets chopped up, Chain Toad comes flying out of the monster. The two heroes are left with their mouths wide open, not being able to believe that the actual heroes were the fishermen. After a while, the old men continue to fish, while they talk about how it'll take a while for these heroes to be ready to take care of the world, despite not having enough time since the monsters are getting ferocious day by day. Out of concern, Atomic Samurai wonders if there's someone who can take care of it, and Silver Fang can only think of our bald-headed hero, Saitama. Stronger than Atomic Samurai's disciples, even stronger than Silver Fang, and Atomic Samurai will find out about it soon too. Then, Silver Fang whines about his back pain, and Atomic Samurai suggests he gets a back massage by his friend, Queer Blade. Saitama tries to open a bag of chips while Genos is doing the dishes. But Saitama is worried that with his strength, he might burst the packet instead of opening it. Genos walks to Saitama, as Saitama remarks about Genos not being able to catch phrases. As he opens the packet, the snack is all in the air, but before it could hit the ground, Saitama catches them all, and accidentally hits Genos' face, sending him flying to the floor. Saitama looks around and sees Genos on the floor, wondering what's wrong with him. He remembers his hand getting bumped on something while he was catching his chips. After Saitama shakes Genos, Genos gets up, unable to recognize Saitama. A while later, Genos admits he can't remember his past and has no memories. All he knows is, his name is Genos and he's a cyborg. Saitama realizes Genos sounds like a kid as he calls him Oni-chan and asks if he can read the comic. Genos wonders why he was here, and Saitama tells him that he was forced to make him his disciple. Suddenly, Genos' voice changed. He got up and took offense at being Saitama's disciple, someone he can draw under 20 seconds. He cooked with that, not gonna lie. As he is busy insulting Saitama, the doorbell rings and Saitama walks to open the door. But before he could reach, Genos raises his hand to test out his powers. The girl walks in and sees Saitama blocking an attack from Genos. A while later, while Genos reads his comic, Saitama explains the amnesia the hit caused. He calls Genos unstable because sometimes he acts like a kid and sometimes like an adult. Genos walks to the girl, attempting to flirt with her and asking her out for dinner. But the girl denies and walks away, saying she's got some things to take care of. As she walks away, Saitama wonders why she even visited. On the other hand, the girl calls someone, urging them to call the Blizzard group since she just saw the best chance she's about to get. Meanwhile, Saitama wonders if Genos remembered anything by now, and Genos denies, saying he feels something is wrong inside of him. Quickly enough, his alternate personality took over, but that lasted for hardly a second before, and he began to shake his head. He admits he's feeling like he has forgotten something important, and his eyes indicate increased energy levels. Suddenly, he gets up and walks away. Genos is jumping from one building to another, and his body is moving by itself. He keeps going along with it, in hopes that he will remember something. He soon reaches a place and walks in. Soon enough, he gets attacked but hides. A man walks out, calling for Genos. He doesn't know who these people are. Then, a woman talks to her, who knows that despite losing his memory, his skill set is still the same, performing better than an average S-class hero. She also convinces him that he came to Blizzard Group by himself to become Gunshot Genos. Genos walks out of the den, begging to not kill him, and they're probably mistaking him for someone else. He runs outside and then flees despite everyone stopping him. Later, Genos stands at a random place, cursing himself for his memory loss and everyone trying to attack him. As he's looking around and trying to remember, the sound of a scream distracts him. A monster shows up, introducing itself as the Lord of the Mountains. It's here to take revenge from humans who push the monsters out. Genos walks there, a ray of hope for people, and the monster turns towards him. Genos' body reacts in a way, and the monster chases after him. He returns to the same den, hoping that the woman earlier would help him. But the monster finds the perfect spot to end Genos and attacks him, sending him to the ground. As the monster is about to avenge its kind, Genos decides to fight back as he's not ready to die yet. He flies out of the den and the monster follows him. As the monster is about to launch its attack, Genos begins to remember his memories, and with one punch of the monster, Genos regains his memories. When the monster thinks that Genos is dead, Genos attacks the monster at that instant and ends him, thanking him for getting back his memories to him. A while later, Genos apologizes for his behavior towards his master, Saitama. He also prepares an apology meal for him. But Saitama can only think of one thing: can he really be drawn under 20 seconds? Well, 10 seconds at best, not gonna lie. Genos stays silent, and Saitama realizes that Genos is finally back to normal. Or at least that's what's normal for him. A big tournament is about to take place, and Saitama along with Genos show up to the arena. The tournament is going to be worldwide too, which baffles Genos since the crowd doesn't seem too excited for it. A second later, the host announces the beginning of the Wild Animal Tournament, which is online. Everyone is allowed to participate and show off their skill set. The prize is pretty grand too, 5 million yen. Then, the host announces that the registration has begun, and Saitama gets excited as he knows nobody is more powerful than him. He really can't stop ball lifting himself, honestly. Then, Saitama explains to Genos that the tournament supports handheld controllers and VR systems, which syncs with a player's movement. So, that's a cheat code for Saitama. Since he's strong in real life, he can easily use the VR system and win. Genos is stunned by his tactic as he's bound to win. Then, the most awaited tournament starts, and when Saitama is feeling too cocky, he loses the tournament in 5 seconds to a Victoria's Secret-wearing koala. Seeing his master lose, Genos is angry, but Saitama guides him to use that anger on monsters, which he notes down. Genos wonders if his master's opponent was also using a VR system, which means that there's someone as powerful as him. Walking out of the venue, they see another guy playing way too well, a wolf. Behind the wolf is a white-haired dude. On the other hand, there's a dragon who uses his legs to move precisely fast and reach the semifinals. Behind the dragon is a sensei kind of a dude. In the semifinals, the wolf and the dragon are going to fight. Saitama and Genos discuss who will win, but Saitama gets tired and wants to go home. Yet, Genos stops him since the match is beginning. When the match begins, the dragon starts attacking with his legs furiously while the wolf measures his movements and keeps defending himself. Saitama realizes that the wolf is about to attack him after he's done noting down how the dragon moves. Then, the wolf begins to attack with his quick fists, with a blue powerful aura around him, leaving the dragon and everyone shook. Genos wonders if one of them is Silver Fang, but Saitama believes that the old geezer isn't fond of video games. Both of the opponents finally found a worthy opponent to fight and begin to have fun. The dragon then throws a hurricane attack at the wolf, but the wolf is able to defend himself, loving the challenge that's been dropped on him. The dragon gathers all its energy and attacks the wolf, but the wolf swiftly dodges the attack and throws a powerful punch on the dragon's face. The dragon doesn't hold back and kicks the wolf in his waist, angering the wolf. With the wolf's fist and the dragon's kicks, the match keeps getting better and better, as if they are fighting in real life. The audience is shocked over high-speed movements, and the players look like a blur on screen because of their swift and speedy moves. When the wolf is about to end the match with his last blow punch, the system glitches and his character gets stuck mid-punch. He panics and wonders what's up, to which the staff informs him that his movements are too quick and the system crashes because of it. The system crash led to the dragon winning the match and the wolf walking out of the venue. On the other hand, the guy behind the dragon is sure of his further victory in the final round, being hyped up by Lolitas. The host announces the finals, and Genos observes that one of the players is the person who defeated Saitama, the koala lady. As soon as the match begins, the koala lady doesn't even let the dragon breath and knocks him down, winning the tournament. Everyone is shaken by the victory of the koala lady. Meanwhile, the dragon guy thinks that the koala lady must be some kind of martial artist using a VR system, who is way better than him on the battlefield. The guy behind the koala lady is called on stage to collect the prize, and it turns out that the player was using a handheld controller and his movements were faster than those of martial artists. Somewhere far off, there's a thunderstorm, and a monster with a TV face emerges from the rubble. Meanwhile, at the Piri Piri prison, a man watches the news, which informs that the monster is approaching the prison. The inmates are chit-chatting about the weather when the same man walks out and asks for space. The old inmate urges to move a SID-E and the bulky prisoner breaks the wall with his fist and jumps out. The newbie inmate wonders if they should run as well, but he gets warned to not run, or else he will be found with 100 bullets up his butt. Since they are always being monitored, they really can't make a run for it. Only one person can make it outside, and that's the boss. The moment the boss steps outside, he locates the monster, and with one punch finishes him. The punch was so intense that the power went out a couple of seconds later. Since the response team took a long while to arrive, some inmates managed to escape despite the bullets shot at them. 10 inmates managed to escape since the team arrived late. The boss is on the top of the prison, worried about the pretty boy who works in the office, as he might lose his job because of the power outage caused by him. The next day, the escapees find a shelter and plan to gather some cash before they come up with a plan to get back to their business. Some inmates return with goods, and some manage to leave the crew saying they'll be back soon. A while later, 2 more of the escapees ended up abandoning the crew. Suddenly, an inmate returns, screaming that one of the escapees is caught by Piri Piri prison. The boss holds the escapee in his arms in a dark alley, giving a punishment which will leave him with a loose butt. Then, Little Sonic shows up, and the boss asks him to let him know if he sees any more escapees. Then, Little Sonic reminds him that he's also one of the escapees that escaped because of the hole he made. The boss gets away, but tells him that his arms are always open for Little Sonic whenever he feels lonely. Back to the gang, who are stressing about the boss, hoping he doesn't find them. They wonder if they should turn themselves in, as long as they don't get extreme punishments. Suddenly, the shutter goes up, and they hope that their inmate is back, but to their surprise, it is a monster. The monster crawls in, wondering why they are in his spot, but still glad that he didn't have to hunt his next prey. The monster plans to eat them all, as he's already starving. But before he could take a step further, he gets punched in the face by the boss, who is furious at the monster. The boss decides to protect the boys and take down the monster. He shows his true form, and he's stripped down. With his quick and precise moves, he's able to take down the monster, and the monster realizes that ace-class hero wasn't something to be messed with. Then he turns to the escapees, telling them their punishment of 100 kisses. But before he could do anything, the monster holds the boss's foot and urges him to fight again because there's no way he can die begging for his life. It's immoral for him. The boss is surprised that he's still alive, and the monster challenges him for a last battle as he cries while gathering all his guts to fight. Scared by the punishment that the boss planned for the inmates, the escapees begin to hype up the monster to take down the boss because they'd rather be eaten alive than having loose buttholes. Soon enough, the boss beats the monster to his death, and the escapees fall to their knees as their only ray of hope dies. The boss turns back to the inmates with the gayest turn and victory, and thanks them for rooting for him in the fight against the monster. That quite literally wasn't the case, but yes you go Queenie. Anyways, he thinks the escapees have mended their ways, and the escapees, to escape this situation, just agree with what he thinks went down. In a blizzard, forest-class heroes are sent to kill a monster who appeared in the snowy mountains. Being unable to locate the monster, they go to a lodge owned by the Heroes Association. When they reach, they meet Saitama, Genos, and another super feminine-looking man there, who kept acting sassy as if he owned the place. Later, they discuss which rooms to take, with Genos and Saitama taking the largest room. The kid wants to take the quietest room, and Metal Bat has a millennial problem with it. Outside the lodge, Little Sonic waits as he didn't expect to bump into Saitama while working here. He decides to make an entrance when Saitama is left alone, but it takes them longer than usual to decide rooms, leaving Little Sonic freezing outside. Little Sonic faints and falls inside the lodge, and Saitama instantly recognizes him. They tie him with ropes, but he isn't the monster they were looking for because he looks nothing like what the witnesses described the monster to be as. Genos suggests that they should throw him out if he's useless, but Bodybuilder and Zombie protest because he's still a human, and they can't just leave him to die. Despite the hosts being extremely kind to him, Little Sonic still has vicious plans for Saitama to kill him eventually. Everyone is busy doing their own work. Meanwhile, Genos senses an intruder while Saitama is reading a manga, and he urges to leave him alone and go to his room. On the other hand, Little Sonic manages to untie himself and begins to head towards Saitama's room from the basement. But his master plan gets thrown out of the window when he gets caught by Genos. Right away, Genos attacks him in an attempt to protect Saitama. The explosion causes the dust to enter Saitama's nose, and he sneezes so loud that the windows and doors break, even scaring Zombie. The kid turns the power back on, and they realize that there has been another attack in the living room, and they find Zombie on the ground. The kid soon notices that there have been no intruders, and whatever happened was an inside job. Then, they see Zombie back to life. Later, Zombie says that he went to go check when the incident took place. They can't imagine who could have wanted to kill Zombie out of everyone. They assume that maybe it's the feminine guy who was here first, but soon enough Little Sonic distracts them. They're shaken as they already had him tied down, but he couldn't help but flex his ninja skills while he was literally freezing and refusing to leave the lodge. Then, the kid suggests that there are monsters that can shapeshift and control minds, which gives a solid chance that one of the heroes could be a murderer. They decide to find who is the one who caused the explosion, and they present their alibis. Genos explains his side along with Saitama and Little Sonic because they were already tied in a face-off. But still, the ninja could have killed with his fast ability, which made Genos acknowledge his abilities, but also managed to show off his and Saitama's ability. Blockluster explains that he was preparing his food while squatting, and Metal Bat was video chatting with his sister, and asks that his family member can prove that. The kid tells that he was sleeping the entire time since not sleeping timely could affect his growth. While they're still arguing about who could be the suspect, except Zombie, Blockluster brings out some small snacks. But Metal Bat is suspicious of it being poisonous and yells that they should instead torture one another to get out a confession. Zombie gets tired of all that BS and goes to change. Suddenly, the kid gets a message from the Heroes Association, with a picture of the monster lurking around. The name of the monster is Bruinato, and it is a threat-level demon. It turns out that the monster is only special with kicks and punches, and nobody of them is a shape-shifting mind-controlling monster. Still, they don't understand what happened. Suddenly, the wind blows and Saitama sneezes again, and the kid cracks the code. It was a dust explosion that took place, and explains how it could have happened because of the dust particles creating an ignition source which results in an explosion. Since the air was dry because of the heater and all the electronic appliances were in use and Saitama's face-off created a lot of dust particles, it ended up causing an explosion. As soon as they relax after the kid's explanation, the monster reaches the lodge and breaks in. The monster introduces itself and thought he's going to kill them all, but well, within a few seconds he's taken down by the heroes. That concludes the anime recap. As always, if you enjoyed, let me know down below and I'm out.